And now the next case.
All parties on Hart versus Kirby. Step forward, please.
18-year-old salesperson Jennifer Hart is suing former friend, 18-year-old package handler Brian Kirby, for damage to her car and stealing money from her wallet.
Ms. Hart, according to your complaint, the defendant caused damage to your car and stole your wallet or money from your wallet. The defendant said he was in your car, but he didn't cause the kind of damage you're talking about. From what I gather from these papers, you were at the defendant's house visiting an ex-boyfriend or something who was also there. Mr. Kirby, according to you, you believed that the plaintiff's boyfriend had stolen money from your father. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to get the money back for your father, tell me what you did.
Just like can I tell you, start from my point of view?
Now listen to me. You believe that the plaintiff's boyfriend went into your father's room and stole money. Is that right?
Yes.
So you decided to do something to the plaintiff's car, right?
No.
Did you go into the plaintiff's car?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do in the plaintiff's car?
I opened up her car door, and then I proceeded to press the button because it's a detachable city face. Took the CD.
I don't know what you're talking about. Press a button and it's a detachable city face. I have no idea what that is.
All right, the CD face comes off of the CD player, and I took the CD face off the CD player and put it in my jacket, and then walked to my house.
And was she inside of your house at the time?
Yes.
So she didn't know that you were doing that?
No.
Now, what did she have to do with money that the boyfriend allegedly stole from your father?
Well, she's the one that brought him into my house.
Had you ever met the boyfriend before?
Yeah, he hangs around with my little brother.
So he'd been to your house before?
Yes.
So he wasn't a stranger coming into your house?
But through the grapevine, I heard that...
I don't care what you heard through the grapevine. Through the grapevine, you don't talk about in court.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old salesperson Jennifer Hart is suing former friend, 18-year-old package handler Brian Kirby, for damage to her car and stealing money from her wallet.
Now, the boyfriend had been to your house before?
Yes.
Fine. So, knocks at the door, Jennifer comes in with the boyfriend, sits in your house. Go ahead.
So then we proceeded back to my room, and we was back there shooting the breeze. So I asked them if they're thirsty, and they say yes. So I get up to go get some pop. So I'm walking back to my room, and I see Josh, jump back, and I knew that he was snooping in my room. So then I walk in my room, I'm getting all loud with him. I'm like, man, what are you doing snooping around in my stuff, man? You're supposed to show me more respect than that. You know what I'm saying? He is in my house. He should show me respect, not going through my stuff. That's not showing me any kind of respect. So then he jumps up, punches me. I fall down on the couch. I grabbed him, slammed him down on the couch. Then my brother hears all this commotion. He runs back there. Him and Jennifer break it up. Well, Jennifer pulls her boyfriend into the bathroom. That's when I went outside and took the CD face off of her CD player. So then I'm walking back in my house, and she has no idea.
So far, I haven't heard anything about your father's money.
Well, before I went out to the car, that my brother's like, the stuff is missing, the money and the watch. I'm like, all right, so I used the CD face as collateral in order to get my stuff back, which I never received back. So then I come back in my house, and her and her boyfriend's coming out, and she's like, I think it's time for us to leave. So I was like, yeah, get out of my effing house. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff's coming up missing, and it was there before they came into my house. So then Jennifer and her boyfriend walk outside, they're getting in the car, and I look out the window to make sure they're gone. Well, Jennifer comes running back up saying, somebody stole her CD player. So then I reached into my jacket, I was like, nobody stole your CD player. I handed her back your CD face, shut the door in her face. Then 2 days later, I received all these threatening phone calls from her boyfriend and his brother saying they're going to beat me and my little brother up and all kinds of stuff. So I had to get my phone number changed because they're harassing me. And
that's your story?
Yeah.
All right. Now, Miss Hart, show me the damage to your car.
Do you want the estimates too? Or just the pictures?
Let's just see the pictures first.
Okay.
Well, it looks as if, unless this was done before, it was more than just pressing a little button and the face comes off here. I mean, I'm not good with electrical stuff, Bert.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a lot more damage than the face coming off, Judge.
Let me see the estimate.
This one was for the parts of the car, and that's for the CD player and the installation, I believe.
That's for the CD player, parts for the car.
Okay. And what about this wallet, Miss Hart?
Whenever I went into Brian's house, he said that I went there with Josh. Josh was already there whenever I got there. I got off work and went over there to see them. And
What word didn't you understand? I said wallet.
It was laying in the middle of my seats whenever I went into the house. Whenever I went back out and noticed that my stuff was gone, all the money was out of it, and he said that he didn't do it.
He might not have done it.
I don't know who else would have. He was the only one that got in my car.
Was your car open?
I left it unlocked because I'd been over there
You left it
many
unlocked.
times before. Yeah.
You left it unlocked.
Yeah.
What kind of brains does it take to leave your wallet with money in an unlocked car?
I've been over to their house like so many
I
times.
don't care whether you were over at
before.
their house. I don't care if you were in a monastery. People with intelligence don't leave their wallet in the middle of a console with money in it in an unlocked car. You got me?
Yeah.
Good. Now, this is not a very difficult case, Mr. Kirby. What you did that day was to commit a crime, and you could have been arrested for it because you went into her car, you defaced her property. You had no right to enter her car. It wasn't even Miss Hart that you thought had taken property out of your house. It was somebody else that you were holding her responsible for. You can't do that. Do you understand?
Yes.
Have you ever been arrested before?
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes.
For what? Look at me.
Contributing to a minor.
Contributing to a minor? Contributing to the delinquency of a minor?
Yes.
In what context, sir? How old are you?
18.
So that must have been a rather recent arrest.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
And the minor was a female
Yes.
who was under the age of 16.
Yes.
And was that your only arrest, Mr. Kirby? Is not an answer.
No, I got arrested twice. The second time was for stealing some condoms.
Some condoms.
Yes, out of Marsh.
That was in and around the time you were contributing to the delinquency of a minor?
No, that was after.
The damage, as indicated in your estimates, Ms. Hart, is $664. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it's just all a big misunderstanding.
Don't hang around with people like that.
And now the next case.
All parties on Abbott's Johnson versus Lacoste. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Army National Guardsman Heather Johnson and her fiancé, 22-year-old telecommunications technician Sean Abbots, are suing 34-year-old hotel maintenance manager Jeff Lacoste for unpaid wages and a deposit on a car.
All right, this is not a very difficult case. I'm going to start with Mr. Lacoste. Mr. Lacoste, you knew the plaintiff casually, I assume. He did a little bit of work for you at some point?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's another small part of this lawsuit, that he says you owe him for a day's pay. Do you owe him for a day's pay?
The hotel that I work for owes him for a day's pay.
Did you ask him to work for you for that day?
I asked him to work for the hotel. We were doing, to expound on that a little bit, we were doing the installation of some furniture at the hotel.
Did he ever sign anything with the hotel?
I don't think so.
Well, if he didn't sign anything with the hotel, sir, and you asked him to work, were you in charge of this project?
Yes, I was.
Then you pay him, because he was never paid. And if you were in charge of the project and you didn't see to it that he got signed up to be put on the hotel's payroll, you pay him. I'll figure that out in a minute. Let's get to the real crux of this lawsuit. You sold him a car
Yes, I did.
for $900.
Yes, I did.
According to you, he gave you $200 in cash at some point. Is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
And he also gave you a check.
That's correct.
And before he gave you the cash, he gave you the check.
That's correct.
And he said to you that the check may bounce
That's correct.
later. And he said, let me give you the cash instead. So he gave you the cash. But you and your wife went and deposited the check.
The check had been deposited before the cash was received.
Fine. And you got the money for the check?
We did not. The check went bad. It went insufficient funds. We were given $200 for the check.
So all you got so far was $200?
That's correct.
Okay. In any event, he had the car for a little more than a week's time. You couldn't come to terms with method of payment on the car, so you took the car back.
That's correct.
And you're keeping the $200?
Yes, I am.
What makes you think that you're entitled to keep the $200?
When we first went to sell the truck, I purchased a battery so the truck would start. It had been sitting for over a year. And then there are phone calls that I made several times over and over and over again to try to get one of either Mr. Abbott's or Miss Johnson to call me to let me know what was going on, and then my time and efforts to go get the truck and bring it back to my residence.
How far does he live from where you are?
Probably about 25, 30 miles.
Not a big deal.
No.
He told you initially when you gave him the car that he probably would not be able to pay for this all at one time.
That's correct.
So?
Well,
you knew money
but
was tight?
The situation was, though, is that he also told me that he was going to be getting a loan from his step-grandmother.
He was going to try to get a loan.
He was going to try.
Try!
But
what he said was, I'm going to try to get a loan.
That's very true.
Well, he didn't get the loan. So you knew he had difficulty. You knew you had this old truck laying there that you hadn't started for a year. So, did you sell the truck?
I sold the truck to him.
After you repossessed it.
No, we did not sell the truck. I kept it.
You drive it to
Oh,
work.
just a second. Because now it's working, right? Right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's working. All right, easy case. You got the truck, you want to give him the truck, or you want to give him the $200?
I'll give him the $200.
Perfect. Now let's talk about the day's pay. How many hours did you work?
I worked 7 hours.
Which was, you were supposed to be paid $8 an hour?
$56, yeah, total.
Fine. It's easy. Anything else? What do you want to say?
Yeah, and I would just like to say, in regards back to the truck, if I may, the $200 that was given to us as a down for the truck, it wasn't the whole amount. The agreement was the $900, and we were willing to work with them. But after almost 3 weeks went by, after phone call trying to get a hold of them.
They didn't have the car 3 weeks.
Yes, ma'am, they did. They did have the car for 3 weeks.
Ma'am, we had the
Shh. I read all the papers. You made the deal with him on the 29th of August, and on September 12th, you repossessed the car. All right, listen to me. You say you had to put in a battery, right? Mm-hmm. You're driving the truck.
But
You're driving the truck. Do you drive it to work?
Yes, ma'am, I do now.
Perfect. You don't expect him to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $256. That's all.
Parties are excluded. You may step out.
that's all right.
Well, they wanted their $200 back, and I can understand that.
I'm somewhat pleased.
It really doesn't matter because I'm going to Disneyland.
I just wish they could have been more friends about it, since we were friends in the past.
It's over and done with.
29-year-old private nurse Frishta Grande is suing the father of her child, 35-year-old filmmaker Mark Mattson, for stealing the baby's belongings and her clothes.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 83 in the matter of Grande versus Mattson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Grande, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time, and you have a child together.
Right.
And it is your claim that when you separated, Mr. Mattson kept some property that belonged to you and your daughter.
Right.
When did you commence living with Mr. Mattson?
We were apart my whole pregnancy, 3 days before my daughter was born. She was born on the 12th. I moved back in with him.
The 12th of what?
The 12th of February was the day my daughter was born. 3 days prior to that is when I moved in.
12th of February.
Yeah.
Okay, so you moved back in a week before.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did that last?
It lasted 2 months.
And what happened?
Well, he was driving me to work. I get in the car. I notice on the dashboard of his car my child's sock. We used to always keep it in there because we thought it was cute to just have a little, baby sock on the dashboard. This particular day, I found marijuana on the sock, and I got very, very angry, and I said, "Is this the kind of father you want to be?" And he had told me over 5 times since my daughter was born that he was no longer going to use drugs, but that was not the case.
Okay.
So the fight was over that.
And what happened?
He got all mad at me, told me I don't help out around the house, I don't do anything. He ended up calling the police, asking them to watch and escort me out of the house. I had less than 20 minutes to pack my things, and basically everything I was trying to gather up, I couldn't even do. I was holding my baby, crying and begging, please don't do this. I had less than 20 minutes. I left.
Okay. And then what happened?
I moved to a friend's house, and I came back like probably 2.5, 3 weeks later to retrieve my belongings, and I noticed.
Where was the baby during that time?
And the baby was with me.
Okay, and you came back to get your property. Had you made an arrangement with him to get your property?
Yes. He said, come and get your things, and I came, and then I noticed everything was gone. All of the stuff that I had laid out, he didn't pack. He told me he would pack my property and my daughter's.
What property?
Clothes, baby bottles.
Whose clothes?
My clothes and my daughter's clothes, everything, all my grooming products. I had to leave with not even my toothbrush because I had less than 20. I left with the clothes on my back.
I would always take my toothbrush if I had 20 minutes. So you must have taken something in 20 minutes. What did
No,
you?
I left with my child's diaper bag and clothes for her and a
Okay.
stroller. I didn't even have a car.
So you're talking about personal effects and your daughter's clothes.
And mine.
Well, what clothes of yours? I mean, this is not a very easy thing to do. You can't speculate as to what clothes there are. You say clothes. What clothes?
He stole my sexy clothes probably because he doesn't want me to have them. I had this gown that was the $800 gown. I no longer have that. He stole CDs of mine and my labor and delivery tape, my ultrasound video, things to me that are priceless that the value of money cannot replace.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Madsen.
How you doing today?
Don't ask me questions. I ask questions. What happened?
We had a disagreement. It wasn't over what she's saying, but she's got a really volatile.
Just what was it over?
It was about her working.
Well, tell me about it.
She doesn't like to.
And?
She just gets really mad when she has to go do something that pertains to work. And I'd given her a ride to work. She was late. The guy told her to go home because she wore the wrong shoes. After I'd already left, she called me and told me to come back and pick her up. And she was just out of her mind then.
So this argument happened on your way. After you had dropped her off, she called you to come back and pick her up. Does
Yes.
that sound familiar to you?
No, I do work.
Now, just a second.
Okay.
The day of this incident, who were you working for?
I worked for this promotional company called...
Go ahead, Mr. Madsen.
Well, on my first way, I'd like to add, on my first way out after I dropped her off, she'd said, I hope you get in a car crash and die. But
Well, was that over the marijuana cigarette stuff?
it was about another fight.
Okay. But did she find the remnants of drugs in the car?
No, she did not.
All right.
And I have a clean drug test here to prove everything.
Okay. What prompted you to take a drug test?
Because she alleged that in our child custody case. So the second she did that, I went and took a test,
Did you take a hair follicle test or a urine test?
a urine and blood.
Okay.
The issue
Now-
over her clothes, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
is we together put all of her clothes in this trailer that was on the side of my house, and I gave her permission to to retrieve them out of there. I have pictures of her clothes boxed. I have her things hanging up in the trailer. I have pictures of all of her things in boxes that she helped put in there, and I helped her load them into a minivan when she came over to retrieve them.
Did you take those things?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So you took the things that he had put in boxes. Now, things that you're talking about here, my baby's first footprints, the birth certificate, etc. What's the etc.?
All of her clothes.
Okay. Who purchased the clothes?
The clothes, I was the number one person at
Who
the
purchased?
church, my friends, and myself.
Where did you purchase the clothes from if you told me you weren't working?
This was during my pregnancy.
Where
This
were you
is-
working during your pregnancy?
I worked at an Associates. It's a promotional company.
Your Honor, the day I loaded her van for her, I videotaped that, and she didn't inventory any of the boxes. And she went directly to the police station from there, just claiming that I had stolen everything, and filed this report from there.
Okay.
And also there was a 9-dresser drawer that we had dedicated just to the baby things. From that, I kept 2 drawers worth of clothes, and I also have partial custody of the child, and I need some clothes for the child.
You're absolutely right, sir. You should absolutely have some of the baby's things.
And to prove her character, here's a ransom note for the child, proving, says, number one, I want $10,000 before we get back together. Type of person she is. I had to file a restraining order because I'd given her $1,200 over the weekend to fix her car to get the baby around while we were not together and she was living with somebody else.
Let me see the papers.
On Monday, she called me to tell me she was taking the baby. She'd gotten in a fight with her next guy and she was going to take the baby to Nebraska. So I filed the restraining order to keep the baby here in the States.
And I assume that that was granted, that she is
Yes, it
prohibited
is. Yes.
from removing the child from the jurisdiction without your consent. What?
Actually, that's not what happened. He kidnapped my child from me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This person lives in a $500,000 home.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really.
And later today,
The initial problem was created by you. You personally, not her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Frishta Grande claims the father of her child, Mark Mattson, stole her baby's belongings and her clothes.
How can he kidnap his child?
Well, what happened was I told him, if you don't help me find a home after you just left me, I have no choice but to move to Nebraska with my family where they're going to support me. He just kicked me out the week before. Of course I didn't trust him. I asked him to watch my child for me while I went to a computer class and looked for an apartment. When I came to pick her up, that's when he petitioned for the restraining order and everything. He had her for 4 days. I have right here on his own from a letter from my attorneys stating that he returned my daughter to me. This is when she's 2 months.
So what? You both parents, you each have equal right to custody until the court says otherwise. He can't kidnap his own child.
He was gone.
Just as you can't kidnap, because you each claim
I
that
told
the
him
other...
I wasn't...
Shh, I'm speaking. He can't kidnap his own child, nor can you kidnap your own child unless there is a prior custody order.
Your Honor, and as far as this case is over, the things that she's missing, if you wanted to call the next guy who lives at the beach that she ran off with, he has a garage full of things. He's called me. He and I have become friends since because she ousted herself from his house. He and I have become friends since then, and
What's
I'm
his
supposed
name? From the defendant's house, did you move into Mr. house?
Yes, I stayed 1 week.
He's
Do
requesting...
you have anything at Mr. house?
Yeah, I have baby furniture, and I'm moving into my apartment tomorrow.
Where did you get the baby furniture from?
I got it for $100 at a garage sale.
Okay.
This is a list of receipts that he made a copy of everything he purchased for our daughter. And the total money that he has spent on his daughter is $418. When this person lives in a $500,000 home, has 3 companies.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really. He always has people over.
Just a second. If he's living in a $500,000 home, madam, it must be either a very luxurious 2-room, $500,000 home, or else there was room for the baby's furniture that you bought that is at Mr. house.
He refused to turn the office into a nursery. He wouldn't make room for the baby's room.
Do you have the baby's birth certificate?
No, I do not have that with me.
Okay. Do you have the baby's first footprints?
Yes, I have.
You do. So make a copy of them.
I will.
Make a copy of them. You're
No,
as entitled to that
that's
as
not a
she
problem.
is. What other things does he have that are irreplaceable?
My ultrasound video,
Do
my
you have an
labor and delivery.
do you have an ultrasound video?
I have found that since then. I've never
Wonderful.
watched it. I don't need it. She can have it. No
Perfect.
problem.
What else?
The labor and delivery video.
The one that I shot on my camera, I will make her a copy of.
Will you do that?
That's no problem.
Will you do that within the
It's
next
our
couple of
child.
days?
I have no problem with
Would
our...
you do that within the next couple of days? That's easy. Make her a
Yes, ma'am.
copy. What else do you want, Miss Grande?
I would like my ring back. There's also this ring that an old boyfriend of mine gave to me.
Yes.
Sapphires and diamonds. I've
How do you
had
know
it
he
for
has
4
it?
years.
Do you know where that ring is?
Your Honor, I've never seen such a ring. And
Fine.
she's
I haven't.
left...
This is the first time I'm hearing about a ring. What's next?
That's it.
Great. Look how lovely this is. We've accomplished making you into an almost happy family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
God. Said that if I don't give her $10,000, I'll never be a part of the baby's life.
This is her shirt that when she was born, the hospital gave to me. He washed it like it was a fabric softener or something. I mean, this was something I was going to have framed from my daughter to keep forever.
I don't know if you heard the way she talks, but it's our baby, and she keeps saying my baby, so, you know, everything should be shared.
19-year-old student Tasha Berquist is suing her mother, 36-year-old home care provider Melody Berquist, for repossessing her car. Melody says her daughter wasn't making the payments.
Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 58 on the calendar in the matter of Berquist versus Berquist. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Berquist, the defendant is your mother.
Correct.
How old are you?
19.
According to your complaint, you needed some help in purchasing a car.
Correct.
And your mother agreed to help you with the purchase of the car. She was the co-signer?
Correct.
When was that? When did you purchase the car?
December 9th, 1999.
So you were over 18 at that point.
Correct.
And the car is in your name?
It's in me and my mom's name, yes.
Who put down the down payment?
I did.
And how much was the down payment?
I traded in my car that I had. They gave me $1,500 for it, and then I put $200 cash.
So far, is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much correct.
And then according to what you've written here, your mother took back the car.
Correct.
And you don't have the car anymore.
No, my sister's driving it.
You took back the car and gave it to your other daughter.
She thought that she could make the payments on it, and
You took back the car and gave it to your other daughter.
yes.
Okay. When did you do that and why?
Tasha was late with her first payment. She quit her job that she had about 2 days after she'd got the car. And she didn't show me that she was going to be able to make the payment. She got ill. She had to go in for emergency surgery. And she left the keys on the counter in the kitchen when she went to the hospital. I took the keys and had them with me. I went to work, and I worked 10 hours. I'm gone 10 hours of the day. She came when I was at work and took all of her belongings. She lied to her grandmother because she wanted to borrow $25. There was a window broken out of the car already. When I found this out when I got home and she'd moved out, I decided to hide the car over at my brother's. Tyann then said that she thought that my other daughter, she thought that she could make the payments, and together we made the first one. It was about a month overdue before we could make the first payment.
After a month, you took the car and you gave it to your other daughter. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you have the car now?
Yes, I do.
Are you making the payments on the car?
I'm behind right now.
Well, how much behind are you?
A month.
And what about the insurance?
I don't have any.
I asked Tyann to, at the very least, put a for sale sign in the window if she's not going to bring it back to me, so that we could try to sell it, you know, because if I...
You're absolutely right. But you can't take her car away without giving her back her down payment. Do you understand? If you took the car after a month, she's out her $1,700.
It didn't go exactly like that.
Okay.
Tasha, I tried to communicate with her if she was going to be able to make the payment on ours. She'd started a new job, and then she'd gotten sick. And I didn't know if she'd made any money. She was working at the car lot that she actually bought the car from. She did not communicate that with me at all. That weekend, she showed up at her work with her paycheck, flaunting it. She never came to me and said, Mom, I've got the money, or anything. I was just protecting my interests.
Where is the car now? You have it.
She's got it.
Are you living with your sister?
Yeah.
I know.
Just a second. Oh, this is very easy. You have a job now?
Not right now, no.
Well, how could you make the payments if you don't have a job?
The reason I don't have a job is because I'm going to Colorado at the end of this month, and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so I can't really start a new job and then just leave. So I was going to get a job once I came back.
Well, who's supposed to make the car payments?
My sister, she's been making them, and...
How many car payments did you make altogether?
2 of them.
You made 2, and you've had the car since when?
The end of February.
And I made the rest.
I'm going to resolve this case very easily. She doesn't have a job, so she can't make the car payments, right?
Right, well, I can get the money. That's not a problem to do it.
Where are you going to get the money from?
As
From
my
her?
boyfriend? No, my boyfriend.
What?
I was
Yeah.
willing to make the car payment for her.
As a matter of fact,
and she made the car payment on my other car.
So that I could use, so I had a car to drive. I was making it on
You're the
his.
boyfriend.
Yes.
Right.
You're the boyfriend. Fine. So you have good credit?
It got bad in October. That's a whole nother issue.
Okay. I'm going to resolve this for your mother because your mother did a very, very foolish thing.
Yes.
Because she co-signed for you. The car is titled in your name. The car is titled in her name. The loan, they would come after her clearly in the event that the car, right?
No, I actually talked to them, asked them if I could get off the loan and everything, and I said, now as far as coming after the payment, they said they're going to come after me first.
Yeah, but you don't
And
have
then-
any money, so then they're going to come
Right.
after your mother.
Everything is in my name only. I mean, she is on it, but
I have
everything.
papers that show that I
Doesn't
signed
make
and
any
everything.
difference. Let's say that you co-signed for the loan, so they come after you and they say, give us our money, and you say, I don't have any.
No, I could get the money. That's not a problem. I'm getting a job at the end of the month. I had all the money to pay for this
Fine,
car.
so this is your boyfriend, you're driving his car,
right.
right?
And I've been paying on that car.
But you didn't make the first payment.
Right, because I didn't have a chance to. I got real
No.
sick.
Here, I understand that. The bank doesn't care whether you
Oh,
have
I
a
know.
chance to.
I know.
Ms. Berquist, the bank doesn't care.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't have a car, you don't have a car, and you don't have a loan because you don't have money and you don't have a job and you got the loan. Do you understand?
And later today,
You paid the bills in November,
Yes.
in October,
Yes.
in December. So you decided to stick it to him for January.
That would sum it up very well, Judge.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tasha Berquist says her mother, Melody Berquist, illegally repossessed her car.
Miss Berquist, this is what we're going to do. You're going to give the car back to your mother. Today! You are going to sell the car.
Thank you.
If you don't get enough from the sale of the car to cover the loan, okay, you can come back.
Okay.
That way, you don't have a car, you don't have a car, and you don't have a loan because you don't have money and you don't have a job and you got the loan. Do you understand?
Yep.
So the car is to be turned over to your mother today. You got it?
I got it.
You understand? You sell it.
I will. That was my plan.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Excuse, you may step out.
Where do I go? This way. I'm not pleased, of course. I didn't even get to get all my stuff.
I feel bad. I love my kids, you know. That's why I did it.
38-year-old engineering company manager Patricia Bemisdorfer is suing her former live-in girlfriend, 39-year-old pharmacy technician Linda Bennett, for a false arrest and for vandalizing her Corvette.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 94 on the calendar in the matter of Bemisdorfer versus Bennett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Bemisdorfer?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you and the defendant lived together for approximately 5 years. And you have children who were also living with you. Is that right?
Yes.
I believe that the thrust of your complaint is that there came a time that Miss Bennett had you arrested for domestic violence.
Yes.
Those charges were subsequently dropped, and you want to be reimbursed for your legal fees.
Correct.
And in addition, you claim that during the time that you were either incarcerated or at the police station, she damaged one of your cars.
Correct.
Those are the two things that you're suing her for.
Correct.
So tell me, on what date did this incident occur that caused you to be arrested?
May 27th, 1999, at 1:50 a.m.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding the police being called to the house.
I went to work in the morning time, and I decided I wanted to move out, that I wanted to end the relationship. I called her up at lunchtime. I called her mother. I went to my house at lunchtime. Her mother came there. Her mother said that she can go live with her mother because I was the one paying the rent. She was not working. I was paying all the bills. She said she didn't want to leave. Her daughter didn't want to leave the house. Her mother said, all right, then, Linda, you live there. I'll help you pay the rent. So I said, okay, then I'm moving out.
Okay, hold on. Let's go slowly. Is it true, Miss Bennett, that during the time that you were living together with the plaintiff and your children, that she was paying the rent on the house where you were living?
We shared the bills. We shared.
Were you working?
Yes, I was. I was working in a hospital. Yes.
Part-time.
It was part-time.
Part-time on and off.
Were the majority of the bills being paid by the plaintiff?
No, they were split.
Evenly?
Yes.
Okay. Then what happened?
So then I went back to work, and I told him when I get home from work, I'm moving my stuff out. I came home, I went to a friend's house and started making a room for me to live. I was going to live in a room. So I got home around 1:50 in the morning, and she opened the door for me. The door was locked, and my TV was gone. All the pictures on my walls were gone. Everything was gone. So then after that, I went in the house and saw that. I ran up to my bedroom where I keep my jewelry and money and stuff like that, and but she was in there with the door locked. So I kicked the door in to see what was going on. And then she called 911 and said I hit her and had a restraining order on me.
When you kicked the door in, she was in the bedroom?
She was in the bed.
And what happened after you kicked the door in?
She called 911.
Before there was any further confrontation between
No, I
the
said,
two
where's
of you?
my stuff? What did you do with all my things?
Okay, and what did she say?
Get out.
And what
out.
did you say?
Give me my stuff.
And what did she say?
She called 911 and I went outside and stood by my car waiting for the police to come.
So you were actually in the bedroom when she called the police?
Yes.
Okay, Miss Bennett. Now, had you in fact taken out any of those items, pictures, TV, or whatever, any other items?
No.
Had you taken out anything from the living area, Miss Bennett? Make sure you tell me the truth, please.
There was, I don't remember, I can't remember what at that time.
Okay, so you can't remember.
No, it's
Then
not,
she came
there
upstairs.
There were things in the house that were mine. There was a TV in there. There was the furniture that was in there. There were pictures that were in there. Okay, the TV was mine.
So what did you do with the TV?
No, wait, I did remove the TV.
So what did you do with the TV?
It went to my daughter's house.
Okay, so the TV went out.
Right.
And some pictures went out.
There was one picture that went out. There was one.
So now you remember. So there, the TV and one picture went out.
And that was the extent of it. That was it.
What did you do with her things that were in the bedroom?
Oh, they were there. Everything was there. Everything. Her clothes were there. She didn't have hardly any jewelry.
So did she knock at the door of the bedroom?
I don't remember if she knocked on the door. She did. She said, let me in. I want to come in. She was drunk. And I've had past experiences where I've been afraid of her. So I kept me and Gina, my daughter, in the room, and we stayed in the bed. And she did say, I want to come in. And I said, no, I was afraid. So my daughter was laying there with me saying, Mommy, don't let her in. I said, okay, I won't let her in. All of a sudden, she goes to bust down the door. She's banging at the door. She comes in. I went to pick up the phone to call 911. She came over to the phone, ripped the phone out of the wall. I got up. I ran down the steps to use the kitchen phone. She ripped that phone out of the wall, backed me up into the dining room, and said to me, where is my stuff? And
So what
I
did
had
you say to her?
I don't remember exactly what I had said. She punched me right in the face, square in the face on the left-hand side. I must have hit 911 because the cops did come. My daughter's standing on the steps of the landing, going from upstairs to downstairs. I screamed to her. I said, Gina, go next door, call 911, because I didn't think I hit 911. I said, no, I don't want to leave you. I don't want to leave your side. And I said, go next door. But I did hit 911. The cops did come. And she did. She waited outside. She was drunk. Waited outside by her car.
Okay, let me see the police report, please. Thank you, Bert. Did you pull the phones off the wall?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because that's what the officer said. You left that out.
Yes, I did. Because I didn't want her to call 911. I wasn't
Just a
trying to hurt her. I just wanted my things.
That's not one phone. Two phones you pulled off the wall. One upstairs in the bedroom, one downstairs.
Correct.
Now, let me hear about this car, because that's the second.
Okay, I had, on May 27th, the police came, like I said, at 1:50, and they would not let me back to my home.
Had you been drinking?
Yes, I was moving some things out of a person's bedroom so I could make room for myself, and we were drinking
So
while
you
we
had
were...
been drinking?
A couple beers.
Okay.
I had some beers.
Okay. Go ahead.
And so they came to the house at 1:50 in the morning, and they would not let me back at my house that night to get my car. I have a...
Well, you couldn't drive anyway. You had been drinking.
I have a 91 Camaro, and I have an 88 Corvette. The 91 Camaro she drove, and I drove the Corvette. I came back to pick up my cars with some friends of mine at 7:30 in the morning on my way to work, and my Corvette was totally scratched and 5 pounds of sugar in a gas tank.
Did you notify the police that someone had vandalized
I called the Berlin Township Police. That's not where we lived, and they said if you didn't see or do it, there's no sense in us writing a report. But I mean, it was fine at 1:50 when I left it. 7:30 in the morning it was totaled.
When had you last driven it?
I drove it right there to the house.
You mean you drove the car after you'd been drinking?
Right.
Not smart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to tell you something. I believe you.
She's making up everything.
Listen to me. I believe you. I do.
Okay. I have a...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Bemisdorfer says ex-girlfriend Linda Bennett had her falsely arrested and put 5 pounds of sugar in the gas tank of her Corvette.
Did you do anything to her car?
I didn't touch that girl's car. And the thing, you know...
There's police at the house.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
The thing is that in the morning, she came and she drove that car away. She's saying somebody vandalized that car during that time period. She drove it away. We had a car. We had a 991 Camaro. It was in her name. That was a gift to me. It was in her name. That was a gift to me. She let me use that car. She did take it away that morning. Her and her niece came and did take the car away. They both, her niece drove the Camaro away. She drove the Corvette away. Okay? That's another thing. She drove it away.
When did the car break down?
After I went to lunch. It takes sugar a little while to get through the engine of the car. It doesn't break down. It was 7:30 in the morning. I couldn't see the scratches. I went to lunch, and on my way back to work from lunch, it broke down. The car would not run. I had to have AAA tow it to the garage, and they said there was 5 pounds of sugar in it. Not even 2 pounds, 5 pounds. And the white car I let her use after we broke up. I still let her use the Camaro because I felt bad because she has a child. And I get a warrant for my arrest because she has a parking ticket in my name and never even told me about it and never paid it. So I went and took the white car back from her just 2 or 3 months ago. That I still, even after she did this to me, I still let her use my white car because I have the vet. And then I get warrants for my arrest.
The ticket was a parking ticket in Camden. She called me at my job telling me she had a warrant. I immediately went to Camden and paid the ticket. I paid the ticket.
So she did let you keep one of the cars?
Yes, she let me.
Yeah, that's what, it was a gift to me.
It's a gift to you, but it was in her name. You don't make a gift to somebody and keep it in your name. She still let you use the car even after all of this stuff happened.
Oh, yeah. And she, until March 19th, she did come at 6 o'clock in the morning and take the car. Okay. Yes, she did.
Can you tell me what happened with the restraining order in the assault case that was filed?
What happened?
Yeah.
I placed a restraining order again. I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't. And then I thought about my daughter. She was crying. She was at the police station with me, sitting here right next to me. I don't want her to come back. The cops were saying if she don't put a restraining order, she can come back, do whatever she has to do or wants to do. So I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. And then she did stay away from me for a couple of days, and then we started to talk, going back and forth, talking to each other, being civil. And yes, I did drop it because I thought I did.
Okay.
I did drop it.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
If she's so afraid, if I had a 6-year-old child and I knew my child, you're so afraid of me, I would have moved out a long time ago. There was never a complaint. I've never touched her, and I didn't touch her that day. If you're so fearful of me, you should have moved out a long time ago if I'm so mean to you.
Don't talk to her.
I never laid my hands on her.
Let's eliminate from this mix the punch in the face. Okay? Let's eliminate that. You came home at 1:30 in the morning. You had been drinking. You came into your house and you found a television missing and at least one picture missing. And you had been living together as a family for 5 years. Right?
Right.
So you were angry. You went up to the bedroom where all your stuff was. Clothes, jewelry, personal effects, everything else. You can understand her coming in and being a little miffed that the home that you had shared together was, being taken apart without her permission. And she had all of her valuables in the room. That doesn't give you license to bust down the door. And it certainly doesn't give you license to pull the phones out of the walls, because that in itself, even without the punch, is sufficient basis for her to have called the police and say, there is potential violence going on here. So I think that there was a basis for her to call the police. And the fact that you retained an attorney within a relatively short period of time, I see, because she ultimately dropped the charges at the beginning of June.
She dropped the charges at the trial. She dismissed the charges after making us sit in the courthouse for 5 hours because she thought I was paying my lawyer by the hour and wanted me to sit there as long as I could.
Okay. She had a basis for calling the police. It was not done out of malice. It was done out of the heat of the moment, so that I cannot give you money to reimburse you for attorney's fees. You lost your temper. You lost your cool at that moment, and maybe it was the beers talking, but you certainly lost it. And having lost it, she reacted by calling the police, which is probably the wise thing to do. The fact that she ultimately dismissed the charges doesn't mean she didn't have a basis at the time that she made the call to have made the call. Now let's talk about the Corvette. The police told you that they couldn't take the report because you needed more than what you had to legally point the finger at the defendant for damaging your car. While the burden of proof in a criminal case is far greater than in a civil case, you still need some connection. And the only connection that you have is that she was very angry and your car was there during that period of time.
5-hour time.
It's an insufficient nexus for me to find that she in fact did it. That's not saying you didn't do it. I'm just telling you. That's not saying you didn't do it because you were angry.
I have a witness to say that I didn't.
Oh, I'd like to hear that. That would be nice. It would make me feel better. Let me hear your witness.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, I asked her what her relationship is. She didn't even know this man. She never even knew him. 6 years I lived with her. I never even met this man. That's her boyfriend now. It's a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Bemisdorfer says ex-girlfriend Linda Bennett had her falsely arrested and put 5 pounds of sugar in the gas tank of her Corvette.
Who are you?
My name's Jeff. I was a friend of hers.
Were you there that evening?
I was there after.
After
she
what?
had called me after all this had happened.
Approximately what time?
I guess it was around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And did you go over to her house?
Yes, I did.
What happened when you got there?
She was just crying, upset. I just tried to comfort her, let her know that everything would be okay. And I stayed downstairs. She didn't even leave the upstairs. So I don't know how she would have been able to tamper with the car.
Your Honor, I asked her what her relationship is. She didn't even know this man at the time. That's her boyfriend now. She never even knew him. 6 years I lived with her. I never even met this man. That's her boyfriend now. It's a lie.
Well,
we never knew that gentleman. She didn't call him. She never even heard of his name in his life till after she just met him a couple months ago, and they live in my home together now.
We were friends. I'd known her for about 3-4 months.
Okay. But there was still a period of time where she had an opportunity before you got there. She wanted to put sugar in this gas tank.
I suppose.
She understands that. As I said, I don't know whether you did it or you didn't do it, but I know that the plaintiff unfortunately needs more than just the opportunity and inclination that you had to prove a case in court. Have you had nothing to do with each other in the last year?
No, Your Honor, I do. She still will not give me anything I own. All my personal things, it still will not give me.
But you're not suing for any of those things.
Correct.
So I know that you're very angry, so let's see if we can perhaps resolve this relationship and finally put a period to it. Okay, what else do you have there?
I have gym equipment, about $1,500 worth of gym equipment that I never was able to have.
Okay.
I have
Shh. Do you have her gym equipment?
It's my gym equipment. It's Your Honor, it's mine.
It was a gift.
Just a second. Shh. Who purchased it? Who bought it? Who spent the money for it?
I did.
Did you in fact buy it for her?
No.
You bought it for you?
It's mine. I bought it.
Well, that's what you say.
Yes.
You bought it for you?
For myself.
It was my Christmas present from her to me.
I want to tell you something. I believe you.
She's making up everything.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I believe you. I do.
Okay. I have a...
What else does she have there that...
She has boxes of my personal things. I have a sister that died in a car accident with a hairbrush with her hair, and I can't even have that. My dad's wild's deceased. She won't give me that. I mean, just personal boxes of all kinds of stuff. I have a swimming pool there.
What kind of swimming pool?
It's a above ground 12-foot by 36-foot swimming pool.
What are you going to do with it?
Put it in my friend's yard where I live now. It's mine. She's saying she paid half of everything. Make her show you her W-2s.
I'm not... Listen, you're not suing for these things, madam, so what I'm trying to do is make you feel more comfortable if I can before you leave. So let me tell you something. I only believe a portion of what you tell me, Miss Bennett.
Okay.
So you would be very, very wise if you want to get on with your life and not have this lady permanently feeling angry that you have not done the right thing. When she, it seems to me, has, at least in part. She let you use a car. You needed it for your daughter to take her to school, even after you had her arrested. She didn't come and take the car until she got a warrant. So she's not a bad person. So she wants certain things from the house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, do you have boxes of her things?
There isn't anything there. When she took everything out of the home, when I walked, I had left the home for 3 or 4 hours. When I walked into the home, I was left with a love seat. That's all I had.
The problem was, Your Honor, we were going to try to get back together. I had another place. We were going to work things out, try to get back together. I just needed the living room set to sit on, so I left my other stuff there.
Okay,
It
well,
didn't work.
clearly that didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and after she found out it wasn't going to happen because I met this girl and I moved in with her, she decided she's not giving me anything now.
Put a period. It's over.
And she has everything I ever worked for and ever owned.
Unfortunately, A, your lawsuit sought redress for 2 things. For your lawyer's fees and for damage done to the Corvette, not for all these other things. So I was merely addressing those things in an attempt to make things nice so that you could move on. I see I can't. She had just cause, as I indicated, to call the police. That part of your lawsuit has to be dismissed, and there is insufficient proof, even though I have my reservations about it, but there is insufficient legal proof that she actually caused damage to your car, so your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just told the truth, and what she ruled on, it was good. She needs money, she wanted money, and I was a target, and she used me as the target. I want her to leave me alone. I'm happy. I want her to leave me alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Nicklin, Sheppy, Peterson versus Dingman. Step forward, please.
Carrie Nicklin, Amanda Sheppy, and Emily Peterson are suing former roommate, 19-year-old student Lisa Dingman for breaking an apartment lease. Lisa says she broke the lease because she received a scholarship to go to another school.
All right. Not a very difficult case. You ladies all went to college together. You decided at some point that you wanted to, the following year, live together off campus in an apartment. And you found a 2-bedroom apartment, and the 4 of you signed a lease. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
At some point, you decided that you were changing schools.
Yes.
And you were going to be living in another city, and were not going to avail yourself of this apartment.
Yes.
Your lawsuit wants rent for 2 months, her share of the rent for 2 months, when you did not find another roommate.
A month and a half, we're asking, and the $100 to change the lease.
When you leased this apartment, it was from what month to what month?
The lease began on August 17th of the year 2000, and it would go to the following date of the following year.
And it started when the school year starts.
Right, a few weeks before school started, which was convenient for us because we started practice early anyway.
What kind of practice?
Cross country.
Cross country?
Running.
Running.
Yeah.
All of you were on the team?
Yes.
But it's not easy to find a roommate during the summertime because school isn't in session, but you have to rent this place for a year. Is that right?
Yeah, and Lisa had only given us 3 weeks' notice.
No, don't ask. I just answer my questions.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, do you think that this is reasonable?
After what they put me through, no.
I'm not interested in what they put you through.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. University track team members Carrie Nicklin, Amanda Sheppy, and Emily Peterson say former teammate and roommate Lisa Dingman owes them for breaking an apartment lease.
Okay, I've had kids who were in college. They have to rent a place for a year, even though they're not using it for the whole period of time. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So, and people aren't there before so that, you could fill in immediately. You have to wait until people start coming back and looking for another place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why don't you think you're responsible for this month and a half and for, according to the plaintiffs, the $100 that they had to pay in order to change the names on the lease?
Because when this started, I did offer to pay the $100 to change my name, but they have put me through a lot of stuff. We ended up filing a police report on Amanda Sheppy because she threatened to kill me. And Carrie
Well, did
Nicklin.
she threaten you before or after you didn't pay the rent?
This was before. We had a meeting at Emily Peterson's house, and I brought along a list of options that I said that I would be willing to help them to help this situation out.
Well, what kind of options did you offer?
I offered that they can go with the three of them, and the monthly rent would go from $720 to $620, and they would each only have to pay $26 extra a month.
Why should they have to pay anything extra?
Because I was offered a scholarship to go to another school.
Yeah, but they're not responsible for that. You are.
Okay. Another option that I gave them was that if they wanted a fourth person, I would be willing to find them a new roommate, and then I would pay the $100 to take my name off of the lease, and I would pay $100 to put somebody else's name on the lease. And they would not agree to that either.
Well, that's reasonable that they wouldn't agree to that. I assume when you rent a two-bedroom apartment, that means you're going to be sharing a room with somebody, and they want to be able to choose somebody that they are compatible with rather than having you go out and find somebody that may not be somebody that they can live with.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Do you think that this is reasonable?
Well, I felt that if I left it up, like if they were to find another roommate, and I did not help out and all, that they would drag this on for the whole year, and I wouldn't be able to afford to pay $100 a month living someplace else.
Of course, you're absolutely right, but they didn't do that. They found somebody almost immediately.
They did not inform me of that.
Well, but they did. Certainly when you received the summons to appear in court, you realized that it was just a month and a half, that they were out your share of the rent, so they found somebody immediately.
Yeah, when they first were going to summon me to court, it was for $665, and that I did not think was reasonable at all.
Well, do you think that this is reasonable?
After what they put me through, no, I do not.
I'm not interested in what they put you through. $370 is a month and a half's worth of rent and $100 to change the name on the lease.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Lovely. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $370.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
We're very happy. We're just glad it's over with and have her out of our life because she's put us through more than what she said we put her through.
I don't think it was fair at all. I think these three girls are very immature, and I just am glad that I never have to see them ever again.
She was required by law to pay us, and Judge Judy settled that.
46-year-old home health care nurse Rose Campbell is suing her boyfriend's daughter, 19-year-old student Leslie Fisher, and her husband Michael Fisher. Rose says Leslie trashed her home while she was on vacation. The Fishers are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 267 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Fisher. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Campbell, you live with the defendant, Mrs. Fisher's father.
Correct.
And you've been together for how long?
Approximately 6 years.
And sometime, the early part of this year, you and your boyfriend were going on vacation or holiday. And she was going to stay home and take care of not only the home, but a whole bunch of animals that you have.
Correct.
You were gone for several weeks.
Correct.
She did not do what she was supposed to do. She left the house unattended, left the animals unattended, as a result of which the house was pretty much destroyed. That's what you're suing for.
Correct.
You were subsequently married.
Yes.
This is your husband.
Yes.
You have a cross-complaint, and your cross-complaint is for some sort of harassment. Okay. When did Mrs. Fisher move in with you?
Approximately 3 years ago.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how old were you when you moved in?
I was about 16.
Where had you lived before?
In Arkansas with my grandfather.
So you moved back and lived with your dad and his girlfriend?
Yes.
And how long did you plan on being away?
4 weeks. Items I sell, and I'm a vendor at craft fairs and craft shows.
Did you have an arrangement with her with regard to caring for the animals when you were away?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
The conversation was between her and her boyfriend, Michael Fisher, at the time. They agreed to take care of the animals. He agreed to take her to and from work and to and from school because she was still in high school. They assured me that everything would be fine as it had been before.
And you had no concerns?
No.
When did you have an inkling that something wasn't right?
We couldn't reach them for several weeks. I mean, several weeks. Come 5 weeks later, she called us when we were on location at a market and informed us that she had moved out sometime right after we had left to go out of town.
Had you had any indication that she was moving out?
No, Your Honor.
What kind of animals do you have?
I raise hybrid wolves. I have 2 hybrid wolves at this time, 2 cats, and a parrot.
So 5 animals altogether?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you know that something was wrong with the animals? Did she tell you she was taking care of the animals?
She was pretty evasive to me, and I was very, very, very upset. We then called, myself and her father called John McNeely, who is a close friend of us, our family, to go and check on the animals and on my home. He then went over immediately and informed us that we needed to get home immediately, that the animals were not in good shape at all, and the house was totally trashed.
Did you come right home?
It took us 2 days. We were in the midst of having engine problems with our motorhome. Our motorhome is still in Georgia at this time because we had to drop everything, buy another vehicle, and come straight home. We were home within a day and a half.
What did you find when you got home?
My house was totally trashed, birdseed everywhere. Cat urine and feces had not been picked up or cleaned up all through the home. The backyard was totally trashed from where the animals had tried to get in the home because my dogs have never been outside all night, never. And they had been left outside for long, long periods of time. The inside of the house was, I mean, my furniture was broken. There was a multitude of things missing. My walls were dented and scratched. I couldn't, it was totally unbelievable.
Did you take any photographs?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Can I see them?
Sure. I have at the very end what the house looks like now and also what the house, what the dogs look like now. And I understand that they're not very good pictures. I'm an amateur at that. It was just something I thought I needed to do.
When you came home, was the house locked up?
Yes, it was.
What items did you find missing?
The dressers, there was 3 dressers that were in Leslie's room. They were missing. They were returned, and that was the condition they were returned in the photos. There was $250.
Who returned them?
They did, on police order.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you take the dressers?
They were mine.
But the police told you to return them?
Yes.
What else was missing?
$250 cash out of my safe deposit box, along with her Social Security card, her prescription for her contacts and glasses, her title to her car.
That was all in your safe deposit box?
Yes, Your Honor. Jewelry, clothing, bedding, food.
All right, let's talk about the safety deposit box. You went into the safety deposit box to get
I
your
went
stuff
and got
out?
my stuff when they asked me to get the papers for their motorhome. That's the only time I went into it. Title to my car was in a manila envelope, sort of like this, that was in my room. It was never in their box.
Social Security card?
It was, yes.
Where was that?
It was in their box.
Did you take it?
Yes. Mike was there, and so was John.
Who's Mike?
My husband.
Who's John?
My witness.
Step up, please. John, what's your last name?
McNeely.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding you going into the safety deposit.
Rose and Leon had called me when their motorhome broke down and asked me to go over and help Leslie and Michael try to find the warranty papers for the engine.
You actually went into the safety deposit box with them?
No, I was looking through the papers that Leslie had already pulled out, had them on the counter, seeing what she had, making sure that they were the right papers, and going through, getting phone numbers and stuff to call Rose and Leon with to give them for the warranty for the motor.
Were you still living in the house at the time that you went through the safety deposit box?
Yes, I was.
When did you leave?
I completely moved out the day, what was it, the day before they came home? Because
But
we had
you weren't
3
staying
cats.
in the house.
We had 3 cats, and when I finally completely moved all my stuff out, I took
Mrs.
my
Fisher,
cat and bought stuff.
we're not going to play games with each other. I'm not talking about completely moving out. When did you cease living there on a full-time basis?
What day was that?
Don't ask him. How much after they left
think
did
it
you
was probably
start
a week.
living with your now husband?
I think it was probably a week.
And you had some stuff that you left there, so you would go back periodically.
No, I would take care of the animals too.
Periodically?
No, every day.
Okay. Well, the devastation that I saw, for instance, around the parrot's cage, let's talk about that, and the kitty litter boxes, that's more than a day's worth of cleanup.
What do you... To clean the litter boxes, she did that once a week. She told me you have to do it once a week. Clean 2 litter boxes. It was in my room.
He wasn't living there in the house with
No,
you?
Your Honor.
Okay, so
no.
your arrangement
He was not
with
allowed
him.
to be in the home, and only at certain times, because I was trying to keep Leslie from doing something that she might be sorry for. He's 30 years old, Your Honor.
He's 29.
She was 18 at the time, Your Honor. I feel that this is just a stab in my back. I brought a child up, tried to give her a good home. I
Then
did
why did you
everything
treat me
for
so
you,
bad? Listen. We don't do that here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have stayed.
Stayed where?
Arkansas.
Well, if you stayed in Arkansas, you wouldn't have met your husband.
That's better than all the hell they put me through.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher was left to watch her home while she was on vacation. Rose says Leslie abandoned her home and her animals. Leslie and her husband are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Miss Fisher, can you tell me why you chose to wait until after they left?
Because I know they'd put me...
To move out. Why?
Because I know they'd do this to me. They wouldn't let me move out because I tried to move out more than once.
So it was your plan to move out. Is that right?
Yes, and they knew it.
No, don't tell me that they knew it. They wouldn't have known that you were going to move out.
They didn't know
and
the
leave,
exact.
And leave all their animals unattended. So this was your plan. And this was your plan with your husband?
Yes.
And when did you formulate this plan?
We talked about it for a few weeks.
Before they left?
Yeah.
So you weren't honest with Miss Campbell or your father when you said that you would be living in the house all the time and taking care of the animals.
They didn't ask me to live in the house. It was just sort of like telling me to do everything.
But you had been living in the house
Yeah,
full
I had
time
been.
and taking care of the pets when they went on
Because
this
I
trip.
had to. They didn't ask me. We didn't, write down papers saying that they would pay me or we had an agreement or anything.
Miss Fisher, let me ask you this question. You moved in when you were 16.
Yes.
Were you working?
Not when I was 16, no.
Were you working when you were 17?
Yes.
Full-time or part-time?
Part-time because I had to go to school full-time.
You lived in the house. They paid all the expenses, right? And you had certain chores to do.
Yes.
Does that sound unreasonable to you?
Not then.
Well, then you turned 18. When did you meet him?
I knew him when I first moved up to Ohio.
When you were 16?
Yes.
And how old was he?
He was 26.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, what kind of work do you do, sir?
Body man, I fix cars. Frame.
Is that your own business?
No.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, I do.
You're working on the books, of course.
I should be.
But you're not.
He better be paying me on the books.
Well, you would know, Mr. Fisher, whether you're being paid on the books. Either you get a check that says this is how much they take out for taxes and Social Security, or they don't take out for taxes and Social Security. So you paid on the books or off the books?
The boss told me he was going to be paying me on the books. He should be paying me on the books. If he is or isn't, I don't know. I do not want to take a check from the man because the checks will bounce.
So you're paid in cash?
I tell him to give me $400 cash and take care of the taxes for it.
Miss Fisher, there's some indication in these papers that you were charged with animal cruelty or animal abandonment. Is that right?
Yes. I've got a misdemeanor for it, yes.
So you were convicted?
Well, it was the easiest way to get out of the court case, yeah.
So you were convicted?
Yes.
And you pled guilty?
No contest. Same as guilty, yes.
So that there really is no issue as to whether you abandoned these animals because The burden of proof here is much less than in a criminal proceeding. The only issue is one of damages. Now, what were the damages to Your Honor?
Well over $4,000, Your Honor, but I'm not claiming that because I feel that some of it was done previous to her doing what she did to me. I'm claiming $1,800 to repair the couch, to change the door locks because they did get keys made for my doors, and my doors, cleaning the walls, repairing the walls, the carpeting, the vet bill.
How much was the vet bill?
The vet bill was over $380.
All right, tell me about your counterclaim.
They harassed us. She harassed us on the phone.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, we've got the tape right here if you'd like to listen to it.
Leslie, this is Rosie. I just wanted you to know that if I don't have you face to face and you're not woman enough to come and talk to me about what has gone on, not only am I going to prosecute you, but I'm also going and headed to the school with 2 documents. One to Mr. to inform him that you aren't living in the Menor School District anymore, and you'll have to go to night school to finish. And I think Mikey is going to have some problems also. The only way that we can remedy this, Leslie, one is I don't want you to come back. You are not welcome in my house after you come here once. Just to tell me where my stuff is, why you left it, why you did what you did to these animals. That's all I have to say to you. Not only have you broken my heart, you also have broken all of my trust. Obviously, you have no one now. You have not me, not my family. My daughter's on her way over here to calm me down. You don't have anybody in your family. You have your sister whom you are just like. Only thing is, she was with him a little longer than 3 months. Also, you have nobody. You have nobody now. Well, kid, you got a long and hard road to work. I hope you make it.
You have anything else you want me to listen to?
We have a videotape of our wedding right after. There were still people there from the ceremony, and my dad, and we know John was there, but we're not sure if Rosie was in the van. They came and harassed us.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's into the vending business, basically I consider a carny, and she...
I beg your pardon.
It's my own personal opinion, so please.
Listen, your judgment's so lousy so far, I'm not interested in your opinion.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher owes her for a trashed home and neglecting her animals.
The tape is not harassment, madam.
She almost got me kicked out of school.
Let me tell you what she's saying to you. She's saying you lived in her home, she trusted you, and you violated their trust. It's clear to me that you violated their trust because you snuck around, waited until, with a plot, waited until they left. And then as soon as they left, you moved out. And you may have come back every few days to take care of the animals, to feed them, give them water, do whatever, but that's not what was anticipated. What was anticipated is that you would be living there. There's a difference between living there and going to feed the cat every couple of days. Miss Fisher, you and I know that. And I'm telling you something. That's not harassment on that tape. What that is hurt. Because what she really said was, I'm going to do all these things to you, none of which are illegal. But all I want you to do is come here and explain to me why you did this to me. Why you did it the way you did it. Let me ask you this question, sir.
Huh.
You're older.
Yes.
You're supposed to be more responsible.
Yes.
Why did you encourage Miss Fisher to leave the house without letting them know?
I did not.
You didn't?
No, I told her straight out, point blank,
yes,
it's her choice. If she wants to move out, I ain't going to stop her. I ain't going to talk her into it. I ain't going to talk her out of it. It's her choice.
Just a second. Rose and Leon were going to be away for 2 months.
We were there every single day. We have a picture of her mailbox if you would like to take a look. See at it. She's got a small mailbox. She's into the vending business. Basically, I consider a carny. And she...
I beg your pardon.
Miss Campbell. Miss Campbell.
I personally believe...
Miss Campbell, look at me. Please don't talk to him. Don't talk to him.
I'm a nurse, in-home nurse.
It's my own personal opinion, so please...
Well, I'm not interested. You listen, your judgment's so lousy so far, I'm not interested in your opinion. Say no more. Just tell me what happened at the wedding, please, so I can
Leon
finish.
and John showed up for sure.
I'm not interested in anybody else other than Miss Campbell.
Well, They showed up in Rose Campbell's van. I have no idea if Rose was actually in the van or not. It was hard to tell. Van has tinted windows.
So?
I have no idea if she was...
Oh, I have no idea either.
I figured birds of a feather flock together. I figured Leon was probably in the van with Rosie and John.
How
all three
disrespectful. Just a second. Miss Campbell, please, I told you, I don't want to say it again. I don't want you to speak to him. Miss Fisher, have you spoken to your father since all of this happened?
No.
And of course you haven't spoken to Miss Campbell.
That's right.
Are you a little sorry it happened?
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have stayed.
Stayed where?
Arkansas.
Well, if you stayed in Arkansas, you wouldn't have met your husband.
That's better than all the hell they put me through.
Wouldn't have met Mike if you stayed in Arkansas. You may have good reason to cry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Let's take care of the counterclaim first. The counterclaim is nonsense. And there is absolutely no evidence that she was involved in any harassment at your wedding, other than the fact that your husband thinks that birds of a feather flock together. Maybe he's right. There is no question that since Mrs. Fisher has been found guilty of abuse of animals, so there's no question that she did it. There is also no question that you cannot prove that they actually stole money out of your safety deposit box. But I really believe that since you filed your lawsuit against both,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you indicated to me that both of them were there when you had this conversation.
Correct,
Is that
Your
right?
Honor.
Yes.
He had a certain responsibility. He accepted that responsibility. He was also part of the plan, and he was the older member that was part of the plan, that they were certainly not going to fulfill this agreement, at least the way you anticipated it would be fulfilled. In any event, I am awarding you $1,000 judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
Clean up
You may
the mess.
step up.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's done this to other members of my family also, and she needs to learn that she can't do this to people.
Difficult since my father doesn't even believe his own daughter.
I just think that Judge Judy was very, very fair and understanding.
37-year-old vending business owner Janet Mayfield is suing 44-year-old insurance company advisor Angela Dudley. Janet says Angela's 11-year-old son Jason assaulted her son, 8-year-old Deshawn.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 189 on the calendar in the matter of Mayfield versus Dudley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Why don't the
Young
mothers
men
have a seat
seats.
for a moment, and let's have the two boys up here, please.
Sean, right here.
Right up here. Your name, young man, is Deshawn?
Yeah. Yes.
Much better. And you are Jason?
Yes.
And you boys had some problems, is that right? First you were friends for a while, but then you had some problems?
Yes.
Then there came a day in the schoolyard after school. Do you remember that day, Jason?
Yes.
A whole bunch of kids were standing around?
Yes.
And Deshawn, you were outside also.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was teasing him.
How were you teasing him?
I was saying that he liked the girl.
What were you saying exactly?
I
Do you
said
remember?
you liked her, that's it.
Hmm?
I said you liked her, that's it.
And what did he say?
I don't know that.
Did you say anything to him when he started to tease you?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said no.
Did you like her?
No.
So you told him you didn't like her.
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said over and over again
What did he say over and over again?
that I liked her.
So you were really teasing him. Why were you teasing him, Deshawn?
I didn't say it over and over again.
Why were you teasing him at all?
I was just playing with him.
Is that the only reason you were teasing him?
Yeah.
No. What happened?
After I said it a couple times, then I turned my head, and he came and slapped me, and my head hit a steel pole.
How did he slap you?
He went like this, and my face just hit a steel pole, because I was right by the pole.
So he didn't punch you or anything. He slapped you with his open hand, right?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
And your head hit a pole, and what happened after your head hit the pole?
I had a slight concussion
How do you know that?
because I felt dizzy after he slapped me.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember slapping him on the face?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
Because you were angry?
Yes. Yes.
You didn't punch him or anything.
Mm-mm.
You just
Yes.
slapped him on the face. Did you see his head hit the pole?
Yes.
Did you get frightened?
No.
Did you go and call for help for him?
No.
Did he walk away?
Then he hit me.
Hmm?
He hit me, then he walked away.
Where did he hit you?
My shoulder.
So after you hit him, he hit you in your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Did it hurt?
No.
No. Now I'll see the mothers. So now we have a relatively honest account of what happened that day. Deshaun over here acknowledges that for really no good reason he was teasing Jason, and he teased him more than once. And Jason acknowledges that he slapped him, didn't punch him, didn't pummel him, he slapped him on the face. His head pretty much accidentally hit a pole. That wasn't the intention. And then Deshaun hit him in the shoulder. Miss Mayfield, you want Miss Studley to pay your medical bills for your son, right?
Correct.
Now, when were you notified that your son was hurt?
Well, actually what happened around 2:15, I was approximately maybe 5 minutes late from getting him. I pulled up. I have a newborn baby that was in the car. And I sat there for about 20 minutes waiting for Deshaun to come out of school. School was over when this incident happened. And Deshaun didn't come, so I picked up my cell phone and I called into the school to find out where my son was. I was notified that he was in the nurse's office, that the nurse had come to get him and brought him into her office, and they would be coming out. Well, Deshaun and the nurse came out, and the nurse gave me a suggestion to take him to the doctor. He, had vomited, nausea, whatever. At that time, I went to take the baby back to my house, which is just around the corner, so my daughter could watch him, and I could take Deshaun to emergency to get him checked out. Well, I noticed her car on my way out, and she lives next door. So I went to talk to her. Basically, all I would have ever needed was an apology or I'm sorry. All I want is what the emergency visit was. She agreed for me to submit a bill to her. I did do that through certified mail. I got a couple of phone calls from Mrs. Studley, and she was very rude, arrogant, no tact.
And your bill was $99. Can I see the
That's
bill?
it.
Can I see the bill, please?
Yes.
Okay.
She asked me about my insurance. I told her that I was going to get this done private pay.
Why?
Where they get the bill. Here's the bill, an actual bill.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
Well, I told her that I was going to submit the bill to her because she said that she would pay it.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company? That's what you pay insurance for, is my question.
I didn't do that. I just took him to emergency.
No, I'm asking you a question. But seems to me if you have health insurance, that would have covered this $99 because it was an emergency visit. Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
I just took him. And I have a doctor's statement here.
All right, take a look at it. Okay, the first thing here is a lie. It said this is a 7-year-old child who was hit by an older kid with a fist. You never hit him with a fist, right?
Mm-mm.
And he never hit you with a fist, is that right, Deshaun?
No.
No, he slapped you.
Your Honor, could we possibly ask the kids how hard did he hit him? I'm not quite sure, but for his head to hit a steel pole, I'd just like to know how hard.
How do you gauge that? Hard, very hard, medium soft? How do you gauge that? He certainly didn't punch him.
No, I'm not saying that he did.
He didn't punch him. There was nothing in this report that indicates that anything's wrong with him.
No,
Nothing.
thank goodness he's okay.
Nothing. And I have a couple of questions for you. I'm not excusing him putting his hands on your son. Okay. You can't do that. What kind of punishment did you give to your son?
For teasing?
Yes.
Oh, me and his dad set him down, and we told him that that is not a proper thing to do.
Absolutely right.
No, most definitely.
Absolutely
I don't
right.
condone it at all.
Absolutely right. Put your hand down. You paying attention?
Yeah.
This whole thing wouldn't have started if you hadn't started to tease Jason, right?
Yes.
Why were you teasing him?
I was just playing with him.
No, he wasn't happy about it. You knew he wasn't happy about it, right?
No.
This is not the first incident that has ever happened with Jason or Sean having problems, okay? I stopped him from coming to the house. My husband and I, we never discussed with Sean why he could not come into the house any longer by being disruptive and doing things. We just kind of just let the kids play outside whenever they met outside. He had no idea that Jason and him were no longer friends per se. He was still...
But he knew he couldn't come into the house.
Yes, he was aware that I did not want him to come into the house.
So that he knew.
Yes.
Kids are smarter than you think. If you say that Jason can't come into the house, they know that there's a reason. You can play with him outside, but he can't come into the house. Put your hands down! What do you think, you're at the beach?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I sat in that emergency room while she fed her son Dorito potato chips on the same side of the mouth where she claims Jason had injured. So to me, it wasn't that severe.
And later today...
You mean to tell me that the other 40 people who showed up just showed up because they wanted to? Stop making a baby out of your daughter.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 8-year-old Deshaun Jenkins says 11-year-old Jason Dudley smacked him in the head, causing a concussion. Jason says Deshaun was teasing him about a girl.
Have you had any other difficulty with Jason in school?
No. We've been neighbors for over 2.5 years, Your Honor. Okay, we never had any problems whatsoever. I didn't know that she had not allowed Jason to come over to the house because they were still playing. We live right across from the park, so they still play together out in the park. So I had no incidents or no knowledge whatsoever that she had forbidden. She never talked to me about it whatsoever. When she came to my house and asked me to pay for the emergency room bill, I told her no, I was not going to pay for it, okay? So what I did was I followed her to the emergency room to find out, make sure she got to the emergency room. I followed her there. I sat in that emergency room while she fed her son Dorito potato chips on the same side of the mouth where she claims Jason had injured. So to me, it wasn't that severe. If she felt that he had a concussion...
He didn't have a concussion.
Right. Okay.
He didn't have a concussion. He had nothing wrong. He hit his head. He hit his head, and this whole thing was blown way out of proportion. That's what I think. The whole thing was blown way out of proportion.
I totally agree.
What had to happen is that these two young boys... Now you can stand up next to your mother. These two young boys should be put together in one room with their parents in a coordinated effort, and in front of Jason, Sean has to be told, you don't tease other people, it's not nice.
True.
It makes them feel badly. And sometimes they don't react to it well. Sometimes they'll let it roll off their backs. You know what that means?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll get very frustrated. And the only way that some people know how to react in a frustrated way is to use their hands, which you can't do. So that if he was teasing you, you have to turn around and say to him, that's a stupid thing to say, and walk away. But you don't use your hands, because using your hands, you look like a strong voice, you can get in trouble. Right?
Right.
You had no out-of-pocket expenses, Miss Mayfield, because I find that you didn't do the right thing by not submitting this bill to your insurance company, which would have paid the entire bill. You wanted to prove a point.
It's just the principle.
It's not the principle of the thing. That, you know, this happens with children all the time.
It has happened before.
I don't know what's happened before. What I'm telling you is this incident is an incident that was precipitated by your son. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was just the principle for me, and I'm basically happy that the judge had to inform this child that it is not the right thing to do to put his hands on another no matter what.
Learn not to tease people.
Not to hit people in the jaw.
I think the kids will be kids, and I hope that they...
To bar her husband, and the kids.
He was already drunk, driving, picking up the child.
26-year-old account manager Anthony Sanzano is suing his former live-in girlfriend, sales rep Lisa West, for the return of his furniture. Lisa is countersuing for the value of a car and for assaulting her 5-year-old son.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 183 on the calendar in the matter of Sanzano versus West.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Sanzano, you and the defendant had a relationship, an on-again, off-again one, according to your complaint, for some period of time. During that time, you moved in together, perhaps once or twice. You claimed that you furnished the apartment. She had you thrown out of the apartment. She kept the furniture. You want the furniture back or its value. That's what your claim is.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant said the furniture was purchased as a couple, and she is counterclaiming for a car that you allegedly took that belonged to her and for assaulting her 5-year-old son.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's have the story of the furniture first, because that's your claim.
Over about a year and a half ago, I met Lisa. We got into a relationship. We moved into an apartment after 6 months. At that time, I had a lot of furnishings. I had, electronics, and I had, quite a bit of furniture.
Where had she been living?
She lived with her mother for a period of 3 years.
Was she living with her mother at the time that you met?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she living with her mother at the time you moved in together?
Prior to us moving in
Prior
together.
to your moving in together?
Yes.
Did she have any of her own furniture that she moved in with?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
At this time, the apartment did need some more things. It was a 3-bedroom apartment, so I went out and I did purchase those things solely.
What?
At that time, it was...
Look at me.
Yes. At that time, it was additional bedroom furniture.
For whom?
For the children's rooms.
How many children did she have?
She has 4 children.
How old are you?
26.
Do you have other children?
No,
Do you
ma'am.
have children of your own?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Just other things were purchased, just to make, the apartment a complete home. Then, after 4 months of living together in this apartment, we separated. I kept the apartment. I kept the furnishings. She kept some of the children's things that, were really for their specific use, not for my use at all. So then, after 3 months went by, I went on to another relationship, and she was seeing somebody else. And after 3 months went by, Lisa contacted me on numerous occasions and wanted to reconcile. And after a few conversations, we began seeing each other again. But then we moved in together. We lived there together in the second home for 4 months. And what had happened, Lisa was being treated for mental health issues, manic depression issues, okay? And she was on her medication. And she decided that she wanted to start drinking again, like, social drinking. And that affected, in my opinion, her treatment with the medication. And as a result, it ended up in disruptiveness in the home. She started to, get violent with me, physical with me. On the second occasion that occurred, I filed a police report rather than get violent back with her. 1 week went by. She decided that she wasn't going to come home anymore to the place where we were living. And she basically threatened me over the telephone from her mother's house, stating that I want the title to my car signed over to me, and I want you out. Otherwise, I'm going to have to file some false accusations against you to get you out through an injunction.
Why was the title to her car in your name?
Because I purchased the vehicle for her. Some of her monies were yes, included in that. Okay? I'll be very honest with you. Okay? But the total amount of the car?
You put in some money.
Yes, for the car purpose.
All right. How much was the car?
The car was $900.
And how much did you put in?
I put in $450.
And she put in the rest?
Yes.
Okay.
So that she would have a car to get to and from work.
Okay. What kind of work was she doing?
She's an administrative assistant for a glass company.
And who watches the children?
They go to daycare and they go to school, and we had them in summer programs during that time.
Okay. So you were put out of the house eventually.
What happened was, as a result of my filing of a police report against her, I went and proceeded to file for a domestic injunction. That was granted.
Let me see the papers, please, that you filed and when you made the report.
Okay. She then also...
Let me see. I can read dates.
Okay. That was the police report, ma'am. The copy of the injunction.
All right. Miss West, can I see the report that you filed with the police department?
Hey.
That's it.
Judge, may I say something?
Yes.
Okay. To conclude the story, a week later, she did file such paperwork, which was out of due vindictiveness.
Listen to me, sir.
Yes.
You filed your police report on the 19th, according to the one you gave me.
Yes.
But you actually had the police come out on the 13th.
Yes.
Interesting enough. Very good. So you did call the police on the 13th.
Yes.
And I read what it said here, which says that when the police got there, you lost your temper and you were throwing things around the house. Is that right?
No, ma'am, I wasn't throwing things
Yes, you
around
were.
the house.
Yes, you were.
I was placing them on the floor because he's OCD, and I knew it would drive him crazy. There was nothing broke. There was nothing thrown in that
He's
house.
got OCD, so you were driving him crazy. What kind of medication do you take?
I've been released from the doctor. I don't take it anymore.
What
but
kind
I
of
was-
medication were you
I
taking on the
was
13th
taking
of July?
Effexor.
And how long had you been on that medication?
2 months.
And during the time that you were taking that medication, I assume that your doctor, who is licensed to practice medicine in the state of
Florida,
told you that you were not to have anything of an alcoholic nature to drink. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were, in fact, drinking that night?
I had 1 beer.
I don't care whether you had 1 beer or whether you had a sip. You were drinking in violation of the doctor's direction. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were taking that medication for, let's call it, mood swings.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that the house was in a state of disarray, and that the plaintiff called the police and said, listen, I don't want her arrested, I just want things to calm down.
Exactly.
And the police came. That was on the 13th. All right. Then we have you reporting to the police on the 19th of July that an incident occurred on the 17th of July. That's after he made his report. Now, let's see. Now I'm reading what that says. So I like to read all these reports, but you know why? And you got to read the dates. Very important to tell a story. But you know that already. You knew that.
I've learned from the best.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He assaulted your son, hit him with a belt? Is that right? How many times have you done that?
I've never left a bruise on any of my children. Not ever.
Get out of my sight.
And later today,
After I made a comment about his socks, telling him that his socks were dirty, he looked at me and he said, watch out now. Watch what happens to you now.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anthony Sanzano says ex-girlfriend Lisa West won't return his furniture. Lisa says Anthony beat her 5-year-old son with a belt.
Mr. Sanzano, I want you to listen to me very, very carefully, sir. Did you ever hit any of Miss West's children? Look at me. Answer the question before I go further. And I will go further, so you might as well just get it all out now.
I have spanked the children at some point or another during the period of the year and a half.
And did you ever, when you spanked the children, spank them with a belt?
No.
Did you ever spank the children with any object? Look at me. Very, very careful.
No.
Be very careful.
No, ma'am.
That I don't believe.
Okay.
That I don't believe. So let's go back again. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to redeem yourself, sir. Did you ever spank the children with an object?
I may have used a belt on 1 or 2 occasions.
Listen.
So does Miss West.
Mr. Sanzano, there isn't a question in my mind that Miss West has hit her children.
In fact, she kind of like showed me how we should discipline the children, because I'm new to this
Mr.
parental
Sanzano,
thing. Yeah.
there isn't a question in my mind that Miss West has beat her children.
Okay.
She knows it, and I know it. I feel sorry for these 4 children. I don't know where they are now. Where are they?
They're with my best friend.
Best friend that's with somebody you live with?
Yes, he's a roommate.
New boyfriend.
Hmm?
New boyfriend.
He's not my boyfriend.
It's the same man she saw the first time we separated.
Mr. Sanzano, we're talking here about some furniture? Mr. Sanzano, I want you to speak to me, sir. We're talking here about some furniture.
Yes, ma'am. Miss West got possession of the home that we both jointly had assets in.
She's still living there.
Yes, ma'am.
And some other guy is sitting on the couch that you bought, and some other guy is sitting in the chair that...
Yes, ma'am.
Sitting on some of your mother's stuff,
Yes, ma'am.
and the children are sleeping in the beds that you bought,
Yes, that's...
and you're 26 years old,
Yes, ma'am.
and you got out scot-free.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't have a baby with her, right?
No, ma'am.
This is what if I could make an order, this is what it would be. That you step back 2 steps, you get down on your knees, and you kiss the ground, and you look up and you say, thank God, and you walk out of here. Mr. Sanzano, I'm going to tell you a couple of things, sir. You lived with this lady, and there's no way that I'm going to go and figure out which toaster belongs to who and who paid for a couch and who didn't. You decided to live with her twice without benefit of marriage. We don't have a court for people who live together. She had you thrown out of the apartment. She had you thrown out of the apartment for, at that time, good reason. You used excessive corporal punishment on one of her children.
I was not arrested nor charged.
I don't care whether you were arrested or charged. You used excessive corporal punishment on one of her children. That's not your place. You are not related to them. Even if you're related to them, you can't use excessive corporal punishment. One day, she's going to have her children removed from her custody. That's what's going to happen. If she uses excessive corporal punishment on her children and leaves her children with people who she shouldn't, eventually her children will either grow up to hate her or they'll be removed. But you're 26 years old. This is a lady who has 4 children. She's had a life experience. She has certain psychological problems. She's on medication. She's not handling the medication well. Just listen to this. She's not handling it well because she does things she's not supposed to do. She drinks and she takes the medication. You're 26, getting to be fully cooked, getting there. Right now, all you're out is a sofa. That's it, a sofa and maybe a VCR. You're not paying child support for the next 21 years. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Step back, kiss the ground, and say thank God. Now, you're suing him for a car that maybe you put in most of the money for. Is that right? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You got all the furniture.
In the house.
Shh. Not the house. You didn't buy her a house. You rented an apartment. You got the furniture. Consider yourself lucky you got a house full of furniture, a lot of which he bought. So what do you expect? You expect the money back from your car? Of course not. He assaulted your son, hit him with a belt? Is that right? How many times have you done that?
I've never left a bruise on any of my children. Not ever.
Get out of my sight. Your case is dismissed and so is your counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's controlled my life for 2 years.
Somebody had to take head of the household, and so I did.
Make sure you know people before you fall in love with them and trust them.
The woman I met was unstable from the start.
It's over. I can walk away. It's done.
But I just want to be friends with her again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Andres versus Brazil. Step forward, please.
Ryan Andres is suing his ex-fiancée, sales rep Trisha Brazil, for an unpaid loan for office equipment. Trisha is countersuing for the return of personal property, unpaid rent, and harassment.
All right, Mr. Andres, your lawsuit says that the defendant, with whom you lived and you have a child with, owes you money for a loan for office equipment that allowed her to work in the house.
Correct.
Equipment that you purchased, she used, when you separated, she took, and you want her to pay for it.
Correct.
The defendant says there was never a discussion of a loan for this office equipment. It was a way of her earning a living while you were together because you were incapacitated for a period of time. You were not working. She had to support both you and your son that you share. She has a counterclaim, which is a whole bunch of nonsense, and Miss Brazil, let me deal with it right now because I want to keep this case as clean as possible. You say that he took a camcorder of yours, that he owes you for rent during the time that he was incapacitated last year or the year before, that he said he would pay you for, and a chair. Okay?
Yeah.
That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you that I think that's all a bunch of nonsense, and you never would have filed a counterclaim had he not sued you for this office equipment.
That's true. I'm desired to be in court, and I would have never. But
Absolutely right.
But part of what he's suing me for is the camcorder, part of the...
I'm not interested. So let's understand each other. This isn't a tit for tat. He has a lawsuit. I'm going to get to his lawsuit. And I'm not worried about your chair and your camcorder and this old rent bill that he was supposed to pay you if he ever got better.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Andres says ex-fiancée Trisha Brazil owes for an unpaid loan for office equipment.
That was your arrangement. You were a family, despite the fact that you didn't have a marriage license. You were operating as a family. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And at a time when you were injured, you discussed with the woman you were living with, the mother of your child, working from home. Is that right? Now, take it from there.
It wasn't so much her simply working from home. She was working for a company and decided that she could work from home, be close with the baby. And that's what we had talked. That's how the whole story got started. I looked at it. I had a large amount of money coming in from my 401k, and I said, well, we could do this. Since I am on disability, I had a very bad broken leg. What I was going to be able to do work-wise was really in question. I did warehouse work, and I taught karate on the side.
You had a very bad broken leg, and you were incapacitated. Right, and you had a baby home.
This wasn't simply an opportunity for her to work from home. The deal was she was going to work from home while I was on disability. She was going to teach me kind of tools of the trade so I could learn something new, so I'd have something to fall back on.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm in marketing. I do graphic design work.
And you could do that on your computer at home?
Yes.
Okay, fine. When you broke your leg, is that right?
Correct.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes.
How long were you in the hospital?
Maybe 4 days, and I had to go to a rehabilitation hospital for another month.
And then you came home?
No.
And then where did you go?
I had to go to my mother's house. She has a 2-story home, and the bathrooms are upstairs. My mom's house was...
More convenient. So you stayed with your mom for how long?
Probably 2 to 3 months. And then I would go over to Trisha's house. I would stay the night with her. This is all when she was still pregnant with our child. And during the day when she went to work, she would drop me off back at my mother's house so I could...
So she took care of you? You went over there, she picked you up, she took you back. Now, after the baby was born, where did you live?
After the baby was born, I lived with Trisha.
Moved into her house?
Correct.
Okay. Were you ambulatory at that point?
Yeah, with a crutch.
With crutches?
A crutch, eventually a cane, yeah.
Okay, with crutches. Now, the baby was born at that time?
In January, correct.
Who took care of the baby?
I did.
With your crutches?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Good for you. Okay, so explain this loan to me. So now I got office equipment that she was going to work from out of the house. How did the loan come about, Mr. Andres?
Our deal was she wanted to work from home. I was in a position where I can make that possible. And in return, I wanted to gain some type of knowledge from this. So that
good. So?
It never happened. Time went on. She continued to use the equipment that I bought for her job that she was at. It never happened. In September, I ended up going back to work for a warehouse in our area. She kept working where she was at, eventually left, and became self-employed.
I don't see a loan, sir.
I bought the stuff, Your Honor. I have the copy of the cashier.
So what?
That's the loan.
That's not a loan. That's not a loan, Mr. Andres. Where do you get a loan from that? You had a family. The family had to be supported. Needed, I gather, 2 people, your disability and her work to do it. You said, great, you work from the house. I'm going to buy this equipment so you can work from the house. You'll teach me. Period. End of discussion. It didn't become a loan until you separated.
Your Honor, we had a deal. Deal. We had a deal. I was to learn something. I paid
and you didn't learn anything. Whose fault is that? You went back to work. That is not a loan, Mr. Andres. That's not a loan. That's living together and planning a future that doesn't work out. That's not a loan. I understand from Miss Brazil, whose counterclaim I'm not even thinking about. Do you understand that?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you. During what year do you claim that he owes you for rent?
The year of 2000, and then he paid rent intermittently during 2000 and part of 2001.
Okay, it's old, that's why. Because 2 years later, you don't wake up and say he owes me for rent in 2000. Because I know and you know that your counterclaim is nonsense. That you would never be here but for the fact of this nonsense about this equipment. Now, what I want to know is, she says that you didn't even bring up the issue of this equipment again until after she took you to court for child support.
That is not true.
Now, but one thing that amazed me, and I just want to find out whether I read it wrong. Are you currently under a child support order, Mr. Andres?
Yes, I am.
What is that order?
It's $38 a month.
That's what I read, $38 a month. What country do you live in?
The United States.
What state in this country?
California.
What county?
Stanislaus County.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now I'm not working. That's why it's $38 a month.
Why are you not working?
I've been looking for work, Your Honor.
Who's supporting you?
I'm staying at my mother's house.
That's nice. Collect cans, sir. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was a gift. It was planned that we would, have a life together.
I mean, I put out money not just for her future, but my future as well, and it never panned out.
I don't want to go to court. This isn't how I would solve something.
I'm out $5,000, and I shouldn't.
And he has to pay it back.
And now the next case.
All parties on Messick versus Platts. Step forward, please.
Teenager Crystal Messick and her mother, 44-year-old sales rep Angie Messick, are suing 34-year-old loan officer Jama Platts for unpaid babysitting fees. Jama says she paid Crystal with a trip to Disneyland.
Tell me your name.
Vinny.
Vinny, would you go with Officer Byrd, please? He's going to take you outside. According to your complaint, you babysat for the defendant. She didn't pay you. You babysat for her for a whole summer. The defense by Miss Platts is that she took you on a nice trip. When did you begin working for her?
It was right after my school got out, like the middle of June.
And what was she supposed to pay you? By the hour, by the day?
At the beginning of the summer, she told me $500 for the whole entire summer.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Did she pay you at all?
No.
Did you have a conversation with her about payment?
I asked her several times, and there was always a different excuse.
Like what?
I'm not sure what this whole house deal was, but it was we had to wait for the house to go through, and then it never went through, I guess.
But it's clear that your arrangement with her was that you were going to be paid $500 for the entire summer.
Yeah.
Then why are you suing her for $2,772?
Because when that was the agreement, I didn't know that I would be spending my whole entire summer there. I was staying at her house for like weeks at a time. I cooked and I cleaned. Cleaning was never in the agreement with $500.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teenager Crystal Messick says during an entire summer she babysat for Jama Platts. Crystal is suing Jama for not paying her.
But you never changed the arrangement with her, Crystal, about the $500. Is that right?
That's right.
You just continued to go there. And you never said to her, well, this wasn't part of the arrangement.
No.
So really what we're talking about here is $500, because that was your agreement, right? Just curious, how many days a week did you babysit for her?
And at the beginning, it was just like on weekends and during the day. But then in July, I was babysitting every day, every night.
Every day and night?
Yes.
Why didn't you pay her?
I was at that time in the foreclosure business. I had not been paid. I was going through a divorce. Crystal told me she would rather stay with me than with her mother because she was not getting along with her mother.
So?
And let her stay with me.
Well, you let her stay with you, but she took care of your child.
Absolutely.
And you had a contract, a verbal contract with her to pay her $500 for the summer.
And
she did, in fact, babysit for you in July and August every day?
Correct.
You went to business?
Yes.
How much do you think it would have cost you a week to have somebody take care of your child?
$80 probably.
A week?
In Denver, Colorado, yeah.
$80 for an entire week? Is that what you're telling me? 7 days?
To the day, well, Monday through Friday.
And what about on the weekends, in the evening? Did you ever go out?
Yes, I would have paid more than that.
Of course you would have paid more than that, $80 a week. So say, minimally, you would have paid somebody $100 a week.
Correct.
From mid-June until, when did you stop working?
The very end of August.
Our trip was August 28th.
Okay, so you're talking about 10 weeks. So minimally, you would have paid somebody else at least double just for babysitting, right?
Yes.
So why didn't you pay her $500?
I took her on a trip to Disneyland.
Well, let me hear about that. That's nice of you.
We went to Disneyland. I had an agreement that with the law settlement that I was supposed to be getting, I got paid a $9,000 check. I took $3,000 of that. I was supposed to be getting paid $120,000 on a foreclosed property.
Yeah.
The settlement did not go through.
So you, go ahead.
So I took her to Disneyland
No,
with
go
my
ahead.
son
So you,
and I.
just a second. So at the end of the summer, you got your check. Why didn't
For
you take
$9,000.
Why didn't you take $500 and give her?
I asked her if she would rather have that. She said she wanted to go to Disneyland.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tell me about the conversation.
We were at the kitchen table at my house. I said, do you want to go to Disneyland? I would like to take you and my son to Disneyland as part of payment for being with my son all summer. When the rest of the settlement comes through, I will also pay you the money. The rest of the settlement has never come through.
I took her and my son to Disneyland, and we spent 5 days in San Diego, SeaWorld, Disneyland. She agreed that it was verbally on the airplane that that was payment enough. I didn't owe her any more money.
Well, tell me about the conversation that you had with her on the airplane.
I said to her, is this payment enough for what you've done for me this summer?
Why would you ask her such a question, Miss Platts? Why would you place a 14-year-old, and you're an adult, in a position of having a 14-year-old say to you after you've taken her on a trip, is this payment enough? I treated you very well. You expect a 14-year-old, even if you asked her that question, to say to you, no, it's not enough. I expect you to pay me what you owe me, $500. You expect a 14-year-old to be able to stand up to an adult?
I did say that to her.
What did you say to her?
I said to her, if my settlement comes through, I will pay you the $500.
I don't care what you said to her. You're an adult. You're in a position of control. Why would you say to a 14-year-old and expect an honest answer? Is it enough that I took you on this trip?
Because I had just spent $6,000 on the trip.
Not on her.
Yes, on her. Her, my son, and I.
Just a second. I read your answer. She didn't ask you to hire a limousine to take you to and from places, did she?
No, but she was...
She didn't ask you to make the trip a day in advance so that you paid premium price for the plane, right?
Actually, she did.
She asked you to make the arrangement?
She wanted to go immediately on the trip.
Oh, you're so full of baloney. You are so full of baloney.
Okay.
I think your conduct is outrageous. Okay. Because not only did you have a 14-year-old who was acting as babysitter, but according to her, and I believe her, she also cleaned up around your house. So for 10 weeks, she not only took care of your 6-year-old, acted as a babysitter, she also cleaned your house. You did some cooking?
Yeah, I cooked for him, for the son.
And ate my food.
So what? That's what you do when somebody's there. What you expect her to do, bring her own food?
No.
Your conduct is outrageous, Miss Platts. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Exterminator Rick Weaver and his fiancée, Chrissy Mayer, are suing business owner Stephen Burt for emotional distress over the botched sale of a van. Stephen is countersuing for the return of his deposit and for vandalism to his car.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 273 on the calendar in the matter of Weaver, Mayer versus Burt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Weaver, this case is a little complicated, so let me see if I can untangle it. You had a 1989 van that you decided to sell, and I assume you put a sign out in the van?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant, who you didn't know, saw the sign and decided to buy the van. He gave you a deposit. There is some discrepancy as to the amount of the deposit, but he gave you a deposit. He was supposed to come back and pay the rest.
Right.
According to you, he did not come back on the day he was supposed to come back, so the next day you sold the van to somebody else.
Yes.
When he did come back for the van, you told him, I'm sorry, you didn't come back when you were supposed to, so I sold it to somebody else. The defendant said, okay, give me my deposit back.
Right.
You said it was a non-refundable deposit. Then there were several things that happened. He says you told him you'd give him some money when you got a check, and he came back a couple of times to try to get the money. In any event, you claim that he had you falsely arrested for terrorizing him.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for that false arrest.
Yes.
Mr. Burt is counterclaiming. He wants his deposit back, and he wants damage to his car because he said when he tried to pursue you for the return of his deposit, you did in fact threaten him, and you threw a brick at his car, damaging his car, and he's counterclaiming. So, Mr. Weaver, tell me when Mr. Burt approached you. He came to your house?
Yes.
What date?
It was July 17th when he came to my house. I heard a doorbell ring, went to the door. Excuse me.
I asked questions you had. July 17th is your answer.
Yes.
How much were you asking for the van?
I wanted $1,000 for it.
Did you write up an agreement with him?
Yes, we did.
Do you have a copy of the agreement?
No, I gave it to him because it was like a receipt.
Can I see the receipt, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I want the original receipt.
Well, ma'am, what happened to the original, my wife had washed my pants and it got destroyed, and I had to make a copy of it.
You say the price was $2,000, Mr. Burt.
Actually,
I want you to make very, very certain, Mr. Burt, that we understand each other absolutely 100% right. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
How much of a deposit did you give him?
I gave him a $1,200 deposit, ma'am.
Show me proof that you had $1,200 with you and where you got the money from. Because he says you gave him a $100 deposit. There's a big difference. He says you're selling the car for $1,000. You say $2,000. You say you gave him a $1,200 deposit. He says you gave him...
No, actually I asked him for a $100 deposit. He brought back $200.
Show me where you took $1,200 from, Mr. Burt.
Yeah, I'm a carpet cleaning business owner.
You're what?
Carpet cleaning business owner. I own a carpet cleaning business called Priority One. What happened was, me and my wife went home. I got the $1,200.
From where?
From my house. What happened, I didn't have it in the bank because I had a discrepancy with bank, and I had to withdraw all my money out of the bank. And that basically came through a settlement that I had received.
Bert, you think that you can get me the Blue Book value of a 1989 Astro van with 200,000 miles?
Sure.
Good. Thank you. Now, sir, he gave you, according to you, $200, and he was supposed to come back when?
On July 27th. He never called, never showed up.
On the 27th?
On the 27th, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what happened on the 28th? Who'd you sell it to?
On the 28th, I waited all day for him to call, left a note on my door even, which he had stated to me after he came 2 weeks later, after the 28th, that he had saw the note and never called me anyway, because he said his wife was in a hospital. Sorry.
When did you sell the car, the 28th?
The night of the 28th. What I did
to
was...
whom?
His name was Guy.
And you have all of his information, is
Yes,
that right?
I have the canceled check and the
And what's
receipt.
the canceled check? You can step up. Bert isn't here. Step up.
I'm sorry. This is the receipt we wrote up the day of 28th.
Good.
That's
Step
canceled
back.
check. Thank you.
All right, so this is my question. So 2 weeks later, Mr. Burt comes back and says, where's my car? And you said, I don't have the car, and he wants his deposit back.
Right.
Clearly, based upon the evidence that you've just given me, sir, you sold the car for more money to this other person
Yes.
than you did to
The reason
Mr.
why...
than you did to Mr. Burt. So you were not out any money. Why didn't you give him back his $200?
Because when he had first come to my house, I said I needed the money for my mortgage because I was out of work because of my knee, and I needed the money by the 27th. I said it was a non-refundable deposit if you did not show up.
Come on. It's not in your contract.
I know I should have written it, but it was...
It's not there. And if you write up a contract and it's not there, I mean, not that I'm saying this might not have been altered to alter the money, because I think that that's a possibility. Because clearly I believe that you sold the van for $1,100. So why would you sell it to him for $2,000 and then sell it to somebody else for half that? You have a price there for me?
Trade-in fair is $900, Judge.
Okay. Fine. So no way, Mr. Burt, do I believe that you paid $2,000 for this van.
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
Do you understand that you agreed to pay $2,000 for this van?
Yes.
No way. Okay, because you're a businessman. And a businessman doesn't pay twice as much for something that it's worth and it's listed in that book for. So this, sir, that you handed to me, you altered.
No.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, you did. $2,000. Deposit $1,200. That's what you wrote here. So somebody wrote in a 1 in front of the 2 and changed the 1 to a 2. Somebody did that. Maybe it was the used car ferry or something. I don't know. Somebody did it, if not you. So don't try to pull one over on me, Mr. Burt. He should have given you your deposit back. But don't try to make money off this thing. We understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He says, get off my property, harass me, or I'm going to blow your head off. Call me a
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
Now, he came to your house a couple of times for the money. Is that right?
Yes. The first time he came, I had told him it was non-refundable, and he left. He said he was going to sue me. I said, fine, do what you got to do. He came back again,
And in good faith, I said, listen, I said, in good faith, we had a verbal agreement about the deposit. Said it was non-refundable. It was verbal. I said, in good faith, I'll give you half of it back when I get my disability check. He agreed to that. He said that was fine. And I told him to come back, in about a month I'd have it. So he showed up 2 weeks later, and that's when all this other stuff occurred.
Well, tell me about all the other stuff, sir.
Me and my fiance were pulling up in my driveway. He pulled up behind us. We were walking up to my door, and he said, I need to get all your information. I said, what do you mean information? He said, for information to sue you. I said, you have my information. You know where I live. You know my name. I said, you have all my information. There's nothing. I said, you get off my property or I'm calling the cops because you're harassing me about this $100. And he left.
Why? It's not 100. It's 200.
Yeah, I know, but we had agreed on 100.
You didn't give him the 100.
No, because I didn't have my disability check yet.
You got the money from the car.
Right.
Sir.
I paid my mortgage.
That's not his problem.
I know.
And I believe that you threatened him because that's what he's going to tell me. Is that right, Mr. Byrd?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, I've already caught you in one lie, so let's not do it again. I want you to tell me exactly what happened the second time you went to his house and said to him, give me your information. Do you understand, Mr. Byrd? I don't want you to fabricate anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
I went to Mr. Weaver's house. I seen him and his girlfriend pull in the driveway. I pulled behind him. Mr. Weaver came over to me. He says, I told you when I get my disability, I was going to give you the $100. I said, well, we need to let a judge decide what to do in this case because I shouldn't keep coming to you for a deposit that you owe me.
You're absolutely right.
I said, and the reason I'm here is just to get your complete address and a telephone number so they can contact you.
Okay.
He stormed away from me. He went in the house. He came out, slammed open the screen door. He was pointing the object at me. I couldn't see what it was, but he says, get off my property, you're harassing me, or I'm going to blow your effing head off. He caught me in. I got in my car. He came off the step. He threw a brick, and he did damage to my car, doing over $800, Your Honor. And I have pictures of the damage.
Well, let me
I also have a...
and I want to see the police report.
I don't have the police report with me. I
Why
just
not?
have... The only thing that I received was a complaint from Mr. Weaver. They never gave me a police report where I filed on him.
When did you file?
I filed the same day.
Where?
At Clementon Police Department.
So you left his house and went right to the police department?
Yes, ma'am, after he threw the brick.
Okay, when were you arrested, sir?
The next day, me and my fiance and her 12-year-old daughter were pulling up my driveway. Chief pulled in. I've known for years. He said, Rick, I have to arrest you. Someone said you threatened him with a gun. I said, you know me better. And I said, I hate guns. I don't even let my kids play with plastic guns.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Shh, quiet.
And he said, well, I have to do my job. It's coming from Camden Superior Court, and I have to do my job. So they arrested me. Took me down, fingerprinted me. I got arrested in front of my 12-year-old future stepdaughter, which was very embarrassing and degrading. They took me down in front of all my friends who were police officers. I'm friends with everybody in the town. Arrested me, fingerprinted me, photoed me. I had to go in a van, ride around in a van, a county van. They put me in a holding cell for 22 hours with 18 guys. The one was the guy was laying next to me on the floor, was defecating in.
I don't care. Don't go into it. Listen to me. Your goal could have been avoided if you gave him his $200. Right? All could have been avoided if you gave him his $200. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you throw a brick at his car?
No, ma'am.
No, I don't believe you did.
No, ma'am.
I don't believe you did, but I do believe you threatened him.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, that I believe. I believe that you told him to get off or you're going to blow whatever. That I believe you did. You see what happens when you lie once, Mr. Burt? When you lie once, like this, and you hand this kind of stuff to me, then I find suspect other things that you say when it's not consistent. What is consistent is that he got annoyed with you coming around, that when you came back and you were very polite, you said to him, I need all your information. I need your full address. You had his address. All you had to do was look up at the number on the house and you see his address. You wanted a phone number. Do you need a phone number? I'm not sure you do, but you wanted his phone number. I can understand him not wanting to give you the phone number because maybe he was afraid that you'd keep calling to harass him. But I do believe he threatened you. Don't believe this, don't believe this. So I believe you have the right to go and say he threatened me. If they followed through with that, I assume you told them the whole story, then you have no case. Now, you have a counterclaim for the return of your deposit and the damage to your car. He's suing you for $3,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress for the time he spent in jail and being arrested, all of which came about because he didn't do the right thing. He, in effect, stole your money. Understand that? You stole his money. He gave you $200. You refused to give it back. He was very patient. You were treating him like a fool. And that's what happened to you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
You shouldn't have been a pig, which you were. You said, not only am I going to get $1,100 from this guy, I'm going to get another $200. It's $1,300 for the van. And the van is, according to you, got 200,000 miles, all banged up, not worth much, 13 years old, right?
Right.
So here I got top dollar for this van. So you spent 2 days in jail because you were a pig. As far as you're concerned, sir, you're suing him for $2,085.12, damage to your car, which I don't believe, and return of the van deposit, which you say is $800, which I also don't believe. $200. So you get $200, you get $200, you both get nothing. Goodbye.
Excuse, you may step out.
I think he should have handled it more like a man.
He pleaded his case. I had to pay $7,500 cash bail, and I spent 2 days
And
in
the
jail.
prosecutor in Camden ended up throwing it out anyway
Yeah,
because it was
all the
based on a
cases were thrown
lie.
out because he lied to him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robert versus Josephowski, step forward, please.
Student Kathy Robert is suing her former friend, freelance event coordinator Marion Josephowski, for the value of her pets. Marion is countersuing for harassment and lost wages.
Miss Robert, the defendant was a friend of yours, according to you, and agreed to do some pet sitting for you.
That's correct.
And according to you, she sold your pets to a local pet store. You want to be compensated for the pets. The defendant says that she did, in fact, agree to watch your animals for you for a day. It ended up being 3 weeks. She couldn't keep them anymore. She is counterclaiming, alleging harassment. So why don't you tell me when and under what circumstances she agreed to do this pet sitting for you?
She agreed originally to do it for me on July 8th. I came over and left my animals on July 16th. It was supposed to be...
Okay. What kind of animals were they?
I had 3 birds, 1 bunny, and a small fish aquarium.
3 birds, 1 rabbit, and 1 fish tank?
Small aquarium, yes.
Well, what was in the aquarium?
Some guppies.
Is this just a bowl?
Mm-hmm, a bowl.
So you're talking about a fish bowl, hardly an aquarium.
No.
3 birds, what kind of birds?
A plumhead parakeet and a white-faced cockatiel and a albino parakeet.
Why did you tell her you needed her to watch the animals for you?
I was moving out and my apartment wasn't ready yet, and I couldn't put the animals where I was going to be staying, so she agreed to take care of them, and I gave her $50 to do that.
Did she give you $50?
No, ma'am. She gave me $25, a check which she asked me not to cash for several days, which I complied with.
Does that sound right to you?
No, because she had a closed bank account and I couldn't give her a check, so I gave her cash on different times.
That's not true.
What do you mean you gave her cash at different times?
I gave her $25 initially, and then whenever I would come over to visit, I'd give her $10.
All right, so initially you did give her $25.
Initially.
Okay. Now, you brought the animals over on the 16th?
Correct.
Then what happened?
And then I came over to visit once a week. She knew that she would be watching the birds for about 3.5 weeks.
Don't tell me what you knew. Did she come over once a week?
About that.
Fine. How many weeks did you visit?
3.
When did you tell her you wanted the animals back?
I had asked her if she could watch them till about August 15th, but she said that she needed me to come pick them up about August 8th. So I said, okay. And I tried to call her August 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Never got a phone call back from her at all.
Well, when was the last time you had visited your animals?
I believe it was July 31st, and I went over on July 31st, and my bunny wasn't there. She said that the bunny was being cared for by her ex-husband, which we later found out was a lie. They were over at her little girl's friend's house, and we went there approximately 6 weeks later and picked it up from the little girl's friend's house.
Okay, so the bunny you got back?
The bunny I got back, and I bought back 1 bird from
Just a
the pet
minute,
store.
bunny you now have?
The bunny I have.
What happened with the birds? Because it's the birds that we're talking about.
Well, Your Honor, she did ask me to watch them, but it was only for, quote, a few days at the most.
Okay, but she came to visit. According to what you just testified to, she would come once a week. So you knew it was more than one day, because that's what you say in your answer.
Initially, it was 1 to 3 days.
Okay, but it turned out to be more than that.
Correct.
And you knew it was more than that because she came to visit once a week, according to you.
Right.
You said that. So why did you give away her animals?
Because
Or sell
I told her, each time she came to visit me, I told her that she needed to pick them up by the 12th. By the 12th of August, I needed them gone because my landlord did not allow me to have pets. And she said, if I can't have...
Would you look at me?
If I can't have a place for them to stay, then can you find someone to watch them for me? And so I found someone else to take care of them, and they, in turn, got rid of the birds. I did not. I just did what she asked me to do.
Who did you give the birds to?
A friend.
Give me the friend's name.
Jeff is his name.
And you gave Jeff the birds when?
On the 14th, when I was moving out. After I waited for her to come, and she did not because my door was ajar open all day because I was fixing the door so that I could move out and get my deposit
Your
back.
Honor, I was there on the 15th, and she told me that the birds were at her mother's house, and she gave me a fake phone number. I was there the day after she's saying that.
She told you that the birds were at her mother's house?
Yep.
Did you ever find out what happened to the birds?
I found one of them in a pet store, and I have no idea what happened to the plumhead. I have no idea.
How did you find one of the birds in a pet store?
I heard them arguing in the background. I called up once, and she said, well, I really don't have your birds. Jeff really has them. And she started arguing with Jeff in the background, and he goes, well, I can't get them back. I sold them to Birdland.
All right, you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. Kathy called everyone I know, telling them that if they ever wanted to see me alive again, that they should tell me to give her birds back. And she also threatened my family. She told me, just give me your laptop and I will leave you and your family alone.
You offered to give me the laptop.
She told my daughter that she was going to come to her school if I didn't give her anything in return for her birds being sold, which she knew that I did not sell.
That's not true.
And threatening me, and she made me lose a babysitting job I had because I had a 3-year-old there, and she was screaming at my face. She was right here telling me she was going to trash my car and she wasn't going to leave us alone. And
you had no right to give anybody her animals. This isn't a situation where she left these animals with you, totally unattended. She never came back. I'm speaking. The $25 that she gave you more than covered any food for 3 birds and a rabbit for 3 weeks. So there's no question that you didn't have any out-of-pocket expenses, even if she didn't give you any more money. I mean, bird seed and rabbit food, $25 worth goes a very, very long way. So what you had to do was just return them to her and get them out of your house.
But she asked me, Your Honor.
You chose not to do that. You chose to give them to somebody who was unreliable. No. That's boyfriend Jeff.
Excuse me, Your
And
Honor.
if Jeff, no, now you
me, Your
listen
Honor.
to me. And if Jeff sold them, you are responsible. You agreed to take care of her pets, and you chose not to do that.
Until a certain time, Your Honor.
No,
she
you
agreed.
chose not to do that.
She agreed to pick them up on the 12th, Your Honor.
And you chose a path that was wrong because you had another path that you could have chosen, which was to take the animals, 3 birds, because you already didn't have the rabbit, and take them to where she was living and say,
I did not know
here
where
they
she was
are,
living.
then pick up the phone and call her.
I knew her for 3 weeks before all this happened. She just starts dumping her stuff and all of her pets on me, and
She
I was
didn't
just
dump
trying to help
anything
her.
on you, madam. According to you, she would come by once a week to visit them. You told me that. That's what you told me for 3 weeks.
And
that's what you told me. So this wasn't just here, take my animals and I'll come and get them when I want to. She gave them to you. She did the responsible thing. She gave them to you with money. Then she came once a week to see them and probably gave you an extra couple of bucks too, although you don't acknowledge that.
However,
even if she didn't, she gave you enough to take care of them. You had a responsibility to do the right thing. You did not. She's going to get what she asks for, which is $560. And as far as your counterclaim is concerned, you didn't do the right thing. You don't get a penny for harassment. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She is lying about many things, including the money, including the dates, everything.
I wish I could have found out what happened to my birds. In actuality, I still want the plumhead back, but I guess that's not going to happen.
She thought she could pull this out of her hat and just get money from me.
I never threatened her children.
I have no more money. He's broke.
It's real funny. Broke? Oh, no.
Real estate broker June Dolan is suing her brother, cook Paul Hughes, for the cost of a defense attorney to keep him out of jail. Paul says His ex-girlfriend was the person who borrowed the money.
Yeah, and this is case number 122 on the calendar in the matter of Dolan versus Hughes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thank you,
Have a
Bert.
seat. You are.
Miss Dolan, Mr. Hughes is your brother.
Yes.
And I gather from your complaint that you've bailed him out of jail a couple of times.
Yes.
First time you bailed him out of jail was in a dispute involving a girlfriend or something, and you're not asking for reimbursement of that. Second time you bailed him out of jail, you claim it cost you $5,000. You want the money back.
It was actually $5,208.
Well, our limit is $5,000.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes said it was very nice of you to bail him out of jail. He never asked you to do it. A loan was never created. Someone else asked you. Someone by the name of Nancy, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's not you, is it?
Yes.
Oh, Nancy. So, Ms. Dolan, tell me about the second time you bailed him out of jail.
Okay.
When was it?
It actually wasn't bailing him out of jail. It was paying for a defense attorney for him.
Was he in jail at the time?
No. He was supposed to be in jail, but he took off from Minnesota and came to California.
So he was out on a fugitive warrant?
Yes.
Was he staying with you?
He showed up at my door, yes.
So tell me about the $5,200 and some odd dollars.
So he had this other attorney that was supposed to be a really, really good attorney because he kind of got the shaft on the first attorney. And the attorney said, well, you didn't deserve all the punishment that you got. He had 3 days left of a 3-year probation. So, and anger management class and all kinds of stuff. So the sentence that he got was horrible. He got another 18 months anger management. He got 3 more years of probation.
Because he did what?
He had alcohol in his system. It was his birthday, and he went out and he had beer, and they were pulled over, and that was a violation of probation. So the judge just like dumped on him and gave him this whole...
Sounds perfect to me.
Big, long...
These are the rules.
Right.
You break the rules, there's a consequence.
So the
they
second
didn't put
attorney...
him on a rack, did they?
Did they what?
Put him on a rack? They didn't put him on a rack.
No.
Go ahead.
So the second attorney said, I know the judge, and I will go and I will talk to the judge for you, but it's going to cost you $5,000. I had already paid for the first one, $3,000. I paid for the home monitoring system. I paid $1,200 in collect phone calls from jail.
Okay, I got you've been a good sister so far.
So the $5,000. He decides that he's in love with Nancy, who is my best friend of the last 25 years, actually, and he works for her. Her folks own a marina in Lake Minnetonka, and he is the chef there. So,
Nancy called you.
No. Well, we talk every day on the phone. We all talk every day on the phone.
I understand it. Nancy called you and asked you for the money. That's what you said.
Well,
don't play, Miss Dolan. That's
Nancy
what you say.
Guaranteed the money. She
No.
said she would take it out of...
Listen to me. According to your complaint, you had a conversation with Nancy. You want me to read it to you?
Okay. I had several conversations with Nancy.
I don't care what your
Nancy
conversations were,
encouraged
but
it,
just
and
several
Nancy
conversations
guaranteed
were. Only one of us can talk at one time. In October 2002, Nancy's called and asked that I pay for yet another attorney. Nancy was so distraught, begged and pleaded. So you had a conversation with Nancy about the money.
And I told Nancy, no. No.
Go ahead.
Nancy said, I will garnish his wages and make payments. And they did. They made 2 payments on this credit card.
Just a second. So Nancy said, he works for me. I'll put a garnish on his wages.
Yes.
So she
guaranteed the money. It's almost like
I know
she
what a
co-signed.
garnish. No, I know what a garnishment is. She didn't guarantee the money. She said, as long as he's working here for me, I will garnish
didn't
his
say that.
salary so that you'll get the money. Guaranteeing the money is different. Guaranteeing the money is if he doesn't pay you back, I will.
And then she said, when I sell my house, I will give him the money to pay you off, and then he can make payments to me. That's, to me, sound like a guarantee.
Well, that's different from what you just told me. Except she has to sell her house first.
She did sell her house.
Okay.
And I still don't have any money.
So why are you suing your brother?
Because he's the one that borrowed it from me.
So far, I don't have that. So far, I have she borrowed it from you.
She didn't borrow it from me. She encouraged it.
Miss Dolan, you got it all wrong. Madam.
They're multimillionaires. The family is multimillionaires.
Miss
They could write
Dolan,
a check
I want
for
you to
it.
pay attention to me. I understand that what you did was You advanced this money. What you are suing for in court is an oral contract. Your oral contract was with Nancy. She may not have benefited from the contract because he was the one who was in trouble. She may have benefited from it. Let's say she benefited from it because he was a valued employee for whatever reason. And she wanted to ensure that he was going to stay on the job, so she guaranteed the return of your money, even though it wasn't for her immediate benefit.
That she wanted to marry him.
Listen to me. That creates a contract. His defense to this is, sure, my sister gave me the money for the attorney, but I never agreed to pay her back.
Yes, he did.
She agreed to pay her back.
He's the one that said he would pay me back.
Well, you never told me that, Miss Dallin.
On it.
No, you never told me that, Miss Dallin. You told me your contract was with Nancy. Now I'll hear you further. You explain to me your contract with your brother. But make sure it's true, because I've already heard the first part of it. So far, I haven't heard anything about your brother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He made 2 payments on it. That shows faith.
That shows nothing, madam. You gotta sue her, not him.
And later today,
He didn't have my permission to take our daughter over Thanksgiving.
You got drunk and shot a gun off in the house, madam. You didn't flee the house with the clothes on your back. You were stealing your daughter.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. June Dolan says her brother, Paul Hughes, owes for the cost of an attorney. Paul says it was his ex-girlfriend who borrowed the money.
Go ahead. He needed the money because he was on the run and he wanted to go back to Minnesota to be with her. They've had this love affair for 25 years on and off.
Yes.
So he said, I need $5,000. So he had gone out. He knew the attorney. He was going to try to make payments to him. He was going to do whatever he could do to pay off this money. So he asked me for the money. And I said, I don't have $5,000. I'm still making payments on the first
Fine, so you
money.
said no.
So I said, absolutely not. No. So he called and he called and he called and he called back to her, and they sat and tried to work something out to get this money. Finally, he's not going anywhere when he's staying at my house. He's got a sentence hanging over his head. He's running from the law. So Nancy said, come back here and work at the Caribbean. I will garnish your wages, and we'll make the payments to you. So I said...
The contract is with her, not with him.
But he's the one that said, will you loan me the money? I finally said, okay.
No. Listen to me. That's not what happened, Ms. Dallin. What happened was he asked to borrow the money, and you said no. And he asked you again, and you said no, I'm still paying off the other money. Then your best friend called you, who you know has money, and said, in effect, he's going to come back. He's going to work for me in the restaurant. I'm going to garnish his salary, so you're assured of getting your money.
She guaranteed it.
Then you got to sue her, not him. You have no contract. You have no legally binding contract with your brother. Now, I'm not going into whether or not you have a legally binding contract with Nancy. You may. I don't have to go into that now. She's not a party. You don't have a legally binding contract with your brother because he asked to borrow the money and you said no.
Well, I said no several times. I said no on the first one, and I finally gave in to him.
No, you gave in to her. You rejected his request until she convinced you that she would be good for the money. Then you said okay.
She never said she'd be good for the money. She said she'd take it out of his paycheck and pay it. And he made 2 payments on it. That shows faith.
That shows nothing, madam. You're suing the wrong person. You do not have a legally binding contract with your brother. You rejected his request for the money until she, your friend of 25 years, said to you, I will, in effect, get the money back to you. If it's not through him working at the restaurant, it's when I sell my house and I'm going to give him the money. But your contract was not with him. So you've got the wrong party over there. Try her. That's all. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She actually had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
I didn't ask her for the money.
Hopefully we can all go out and have lunch or something and talk about it.
I'm not paying.
Homemaker Stacy Smith is suing her ex-husband, loan officer Omar Nicholas, for money she loaned him after their divorce. Omar claims he owes her nothing.
This is case number 27 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Nicholas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Smith, the defendant is your ex-husband, and you claim that he owes you a variety of things, bankruptcy filing fees, and some money that you allegedly loaned to him. Mr. Nicholas says that you're a bit of a control freak, he just won't let it go, and he doesn't owe you a dime, right?
Correct.
When were you divorced?
April 11th of 2001.
You have children?
Yes, 2 of them.
Who do the children live with?
Me.
Does Mr. Nicholas have visitation with the children?
Yes, he does.
When?
When he feels like it. It's supposed to be every other weekend, but it hasn't been any kind of consistency since we divorced.
Your choice or his?
His choice.
How often do you see your children, Mr. Nicholas?
Not enough.
Your choice or hers?
Mostly her choice.
Sometimes yours?
There have been points in time where if I had to work on a Saturday and my son had a baseball game, then...
Gotcha. All right. Tell me what he owes you, why?
Okay. The first money is $80 he owes me for candy. Our son had a candy sale, and Omar had received 80 candy bars from me. 50 of them were ones he wanted, 30 of them were for his grandmother, who he resides with. Gave him the candy, he disappeared. When he came back, he had no job about 6-8 weeks later, and never gave me the money back.
Candy bars. Did you take them?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay for them?
No.
Okay, so you got to pay for your son's candy bars.
Well, I took them. I was a means of go-between. The candy was to go to my mother and my grandmother.
That's your job. She shouldn't have to go to your mother and your grandmother to get the money for them. $80.
No, they were the ones who were actually selling the candy.
Fine, get the money from them. $80. Candy bars. What's next?
On August 22nd of last year, he was to have the children for the weekend. His phone was disconnected. I am very nervous about my children being with him without a phone, so he asked me if I'd make a phone payment for him. I went down to the Sprint store and made an $80 payment. He was getting paid the next week, was supposed to pay me back. He was then fired about a week and a half later.
$80 phone payment. Do you owe her the money?
I don't believe so.
Why?
I never asked her to make the payment. She had called me at work Thursday prior to me receiving the kids on Friday and said, your phone's not on. How am I going to be able to get a hold of you during the weekend when you have the kids? I said, I don't know. Well, I'm going to go make the payment for you.
I believe that's probably how it happened. You don't owe her the money. It wasn't a loan. What's next? I'm going to take care of this really fast.
I understand. I mean, on the 17th of last year, of October of last year, after he had returned from being missing for about 6 weeks, he came to me and said that he needed his truck payment made, that he was going to have it repossessed. We made an agreement that I would go ahead and pay it. It was $485. I made it at a quick collect location. I even had to call him immediately to give him the MTC number, a tracking number, so that he could prove to them he made it. He never paid me back.
She made a payment, agreed upon me and her. If she made the payment, then I would drive to pick the children up and drop them off for an extended period of time.
Your Honor, his car was repossessed a week later. He just was never...
How much child support were you paying?
Well, when I was working, it was being taken out of my check, and it was $455 a month.
But you had disappeared in October of 2002 for a while. Had you been working?
No.
In September?
No, I was laid off at the end of August.
So then you were not paying any child support?
Correct.
So not paying any child support for your 2 children, and in addition, you asked her to make a car payment for you.
That's incorrect. I did not ask her to make a payment. She said, knowing that I had been out of town for an extended period of time and was not employed, well, how are you paying your car payment? I said, well, I had not been for, the past 6 weeks.
How did she get the information, sir, that you can go to a quick cash place and take care of it?
I gave her the information.
Good. You gave her that information. Is that right?
That's right.
Good.
I never said that I would pay her back.
Listen to me carefully. Watch my mouth. I don't believe you. I believe you asked her to make the payment for you as a loan. $485.
And my ex-wife who divorced me is going to make a car payment for me that I asked her to?
Do you understand? No, it was a loan. No, she didn't do it as a gift. She did it as a loan. Next.
The last thing that I am asking for reimbursement on is I had to file bankruptcy. Omar, within our divorce, received a Mazda vehicle that was financed only in my name. He did not carry insurance on it. On July 11th...
Well, what genius judge gave him the Mazda vehicle in the divorce but kept your name on the loan?
No judge.
He couldn't get a loan for it, Your Honor. His credit was too bad.
What?
The judge in divorce gave me the Honda.
He took possession of the vehicle in January
possession
when I
of
left.
What vehicle?
Of the Mazda. I have the divorce here. It says that he is responsible for this vehicle and that any possessions that we have at that time. We had everything already split
You had 2
together.
cars. You had a Mazda and a Honda.
He had possession of both of them when we divorced.
Okay, and you were supposed to get which car?
I was supposed to receive neither. He was supposed to sell the Honda. He had a friend who was supposed to be buying the Honda. That didn't happen. It got repossessed.
Story time.
You gave him the Mazda, but you had the loan for the Mazda in your name?
Right, and what my...
Shh. Were you making the payments on the Mazda?
He was to make the payments, and he didn't make the payments.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
That means either you had very, very bad counsel. Did you have an attorney?
I had a paralegal that did it for me.
Well, not too swift. If you own a car and you give the car to somebody else, but you maintain your obligation to pay for it, you have to be smart enough to carry insurance on it, and you don't rely on him, as you did. You're going to pay for it, and you're going to keep it insured, and you're going to do all the other things that you're supposed to do as a responsible human being. Because I gather what happened is the car was in an accident?
Correct.
While you were driving it?
Correct.
So you just stopped making payments if you ever did make the payments on it, is that right?
In a roundabout way.
And you never carried insurance on it?
Correct.
You really are a prize.
Well, Your Honor, can I tell you what
prize.
happened?
Yeah, sure.
The vehicle was involved in an accident. I was cleared by the police as not being at fault. I gave Ms. Smith the police report so she could follow up on the owner of the vehicle.
Why is that her job?
Because it's in her name.
Let me tell you something. You're as thick as this table. Or you're just used to somebody else cleaning up after your mess.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are these your only two children?
Yes, they are.
The greatest gift you can give your children is a sense of morality. I hope that they can get that from their mother, because based upon what you tell me, they're certainly not getting it from you.
And later today...
Yeah, we're engaged. I treated our relationship as if we were getting married. We
Listen
were
to me!
planning our wedding.
Engaged is not married. And if you choose not to do that, don't bother me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stacy Smith claims ex-husband Omar Nicholas owes for a series of unpaid loans. Omar claims Stacy gave him the money.
You're driving the car. You're getting the pleasure from it. You're in an accident, your fault or not. You were in the accident, not her. You have possession of the car. You were supposed to make the payments on the car. She was supposed to be absolved of those payments, and you say to her, I gave you the information. Follow up on it.
The
Honey,
payments have nothing to do with whether the fact that she had to file bankruptcy on it.
let me ask you this question, Mr. Wonderful. Who's responsible to the bank on the car?
The person who has the loan.
Don't be smart with me. Who would that be?
The person who bought the vehicle.
Her.
Correct.
Right. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a loan officer.
How old are your children?
7 and 3.
Are these your only two children?
Yes, they are.
I want to tell you something, sir.
They are not, Your Honor, but...
Maybe his only two children with you, he meant.
Yes.
He's slick.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest gift you can give your children is a sense of morality, right and wrong. I hope that they can get that from their mother, because based upon what you tell me, they're certainly not getting it from you.
And how is that?
I'm going to tell you how that is.
Please do.
Because it seems to me like you've been getting the cream and she's been getting the skim on this milk.
Wow.
Really? I don't have money for car payments, $485. I didn't ask you for it. Therefore, it wasn't a loan. I took the candy, I gave it to my mother and my grandmother.
As it was
You
supposed
did.
to go.
Quiet! You want the money? Go to my mother and my grandmother. Sorry, I can't call you when I have the kids this weekend because my phone was cut off. You want to make a payment on it? Go ahead and do it. Otherwise, not going to be able to get in touch with you and you can't get in touch with the kids. And she does it. I have a job. I don't have a job. I got fired from my job. I got laid off from my job. I disappeared for 6 weeks. Sometimes I pick my kids up. Sometimes I don't. That sounds pretty amoral to me. In any event, what you want him to be responsible for is the fact that you had to file for bankruptcy because you had to pay for the car that he wrecked. That's the basis of your claim. And I'm going to tell this to you. You divorced him for a reason. Is that right?
Definitely.
Why would you think that the things that caused you to divorce him all of a sudden were going to change once he became a divorced person? Was he responsible when you were married to him?
No, he wasn't.
Was he an avoidance person when you were married to him?
Definitely.
Was it always somebody else's fault when you were married to him?
Oh, yeah.
Why would you think, madam, that a brief year or two, considering that in that brief period of time he hadn't done the right thing, would change him? So, if you gave him the car, you keep the insurance on it.
Your Honor, he did have insurance on the vehicle at one time when he took possession of it. He had gotten the insurance, he handed a fake insurance card to the police.
Listen to me. Was he responsible when you were married to him?
No.
Did he lie to you?
Many times.
So why would you place any credibility in the statement, I have insurance, when he knows that all he's got to do is, if he has an accident, here, babe, you take care of the forms. You go chasing the person who was responsible. I'm not responsible for anything. So I'm not giving you money for your bankruptcy. Be smart. He owes you $565. It's cheap. But if you're going to teach your children any morality at all, you better make sure you do it yourself. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. The real reason we're here is because I was taking my ex to family court for legalized visitation, and within a week of her receiving the papers, I received a summons that she was suing me.
His girlfriend had told me that he had received several $1,000s. I called him and he said he paid other bills with it and could care less about my money, and he told me to file, so I filed against him.
24-year-old surgical assistant Kimberly Orell is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old security officer Robert Stewart, for an unpaid loan and for his share of a trip to Disneyland.
Order. All rise. This is case number 5 on the calendar in the matter of Orell versus Stewart. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
All right, let's see how quickly we can do this. Mr. Orell, according to you, the defendant is your ex-boyfriend.
Correct.
And he owes you some money. I did the math. I don't quite see where you come up to $5,000. I'm sure you're going to try to explain that to me. The money comes from two sources. One, you claim that you went on a vacation together, and he was supposed to pay you for at least half of the vacation or the whole vacation, and he never did. The vacation, according to you, was under $1,000.
Correct.
And the second thing was a loan that you made to him for some furniture for his new apartment. That was $190.
Correct.
Tell me about the trip. When did you take it?
We went on May 22nd of 2000.
Okay, what were the circumstances surrounding the trip?
He was just beginning a new job. He was supposed to start the following week. We had some time off. He had told me that for many, many years during his childhood, he had wanted to go to Disneyland. He had never gotten the chance to go, and we would like to go, with the understanding that since...
No understanding.
Okay.
He would like to go on the trip.
Correct.
I want to hear your version of the conversation. No
Okay.
I don't want to hear your understanding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
He did not have the front money to go on the vacation, but if I would agree, I agreed to put it on a credit card, in which case there was a payment plan and that it would all be paid back in the next year.
He said that to you?
Correct.
You got your bill from your credit card?
Yes.
How much was the total trip?
The trip alone, $960.
Did you show him the bill?
I did.
And what did he say?
He said no problem. He began his payments, and it was
How many
actually
payments
fine.
did he? How many payments did he make?
He made 2 payments directly on his paid dates.
How much?
The very first one was $40. He followed with $20.
So according to you, he paid $60 in total.
There was another $20 payment weeks later. There was $80 total.
Okay. So he's making these small payments, and now tell me about the furniture.
We had previously, prior to the
Were
trip...
you living together at the time?
No, we were not.
Okay.
At that time, a couple of weeks after we returned from vacation, he did have to leave the residence where he was staying with a family member. And he stayed at my house just for a couple of weeks until he did find his own residence.
And?
And he had come here from very far out of state when he had originally moved here. He hadn't acquired many things other than a bed and such. And being that I had no point to distrust him at that time, I did agree to buy a few things for the apartment for him.
How much did you spend?
It was just under $200.
What do you mean just under $200?
It was the credit card totals of $191.
And he wasn't working at the time?
He was working at the time.
So why didn't he pay for those things himself?
He didn't have any money saved up, and he had made a few payments to me.
Paid $40,
He just had to pay
$20, $28?
Had to pay rent to get into a new place, too.
Okay. So far, if everything that you say is accurate,
yes,
it's $191 plus $880.
Okay.
$1,071. So you want to explain to me why we have a lawsuit for $5,000?
Absolutely. There were other very small charges. His pet was hit by a car, had to have emergency surgery. Veterinary clinic needed payment to receive the animal back, things like that I did put on. That was just prior to the trip. That was May 2nd. The unfortunate thing is that I had one credit card at the time, and we used that for the entire vacation, and due to the fact that it was in 2000, because of non-payment, I've had interest for over 2 years on a credit card.
Should have paid it off.
Which he agreed to.
You should have paid it off.
You're right.
Right.
If I had the money, I would. You're right.
Shouldn't have gone on the trip if you didn't have the money.
Mm.
He didn't have the money, you didn't have the money, then you don't go to Disneyland. You don't go to Fantasyland if you don't have, neither one of you have the money.
It's difficult to turn down a somewhat free vacation with someone that you do trust. I did trust him very much.
No. Listen to me.
Okay.
When did you meet him?
January.
You met him in January. You're going away in May.
Correct.
Right? January, February, March, April, May. Did he have a job in January?
The entire time, yes.
He had a job in February?
Correct.
March?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
So why didn't he have any money? You told me he was living with relatives.
That was kind of the problem. He never seemed to have any money.
Well, then I don't know. I would begin to scratch my head if I were an intelligent girl.
I did shortly thereafter.
Well, you do it shortly before you expend money.
You're right.
I mean, you wanted to trust him. The fact that you wanted to trust him doesn't mean that you had any cause to trust him.
Right. We had a rapport built up. He'd borrowed very small amounts in the past, and he paid them back immediately. I had a lot of trust in him at the time.
Well, so then maybe if he borrowed small amounts, he paid them back immediately. Maybe his answer to your lawsuit has some validity. Mr. Stewart, what's your answer, sir?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Your Honor, we went on this vacation, all right? We started going out on Valentine's Day of that February. It was supposed to be like a gift to me, okay?
Why would you make a gift of a trip to you?
Well, Your Honor...
don't be an actress, please.
Okay.
Your Honor, I love her very much, all right? And I think she felt the same way back to me. And I thought it was just, she knew I was getting stressed out at my job. She was getting stressed out. And she told me it was the happiest place on earth. So, so we decided...
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, I just have a hard time seeing how, a $400 trip to Disneyland has accumulated to $5,000.
It hasn't.
Okay.
Only in her mind. Only in the fantasy of her own mind.
Okay.
And later today...
I had a lady from Protective Services show up at my door. There had been a conflict at their home, and I was under the impression Teresa was hit, and that's why she came to stay with me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Orell says ex-boyfriend Robert Stewart owes for an IKEA shopping spree and for his share of a trip to Disneyland. Robert says Disneyland was a Valentine's gift.
Why didn't you have any money to go?
I just relocated to Oregon, and I guess I just really don't know how to manage my money that well, especially at the time. And
were you using drugs?
No, ma'am.
Well, if you were working, you were living with relatives.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And you weren't spending a lot of money on the plaintiff. What were you doing with your money?
I really wasn't making that much money at the
What kind
of
of work were you doing?
We worked at a detox detention center together.
Were you working 2 jobs at the time?
Shh, don't speak to him. All right. Let us say that the two of you should not have gone on this vacation together if neither of you had the money. So let's say you split this vacation.
Well, in that case, Your Honor, I mean, I would say that if you did have an agreement like that, it would be a $400 trip. And we got back, and she was having a hard time paying her credit card. I gave her almost $400 to help her out with her credit card in the first place.
Did you?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have any proof of that?
No, I don't.
When did you give her $400? So she said you gave her 80.
It was just over a period of time. Like I give her $50 here, $50 there.
Really?
I mean,
Do
just
you
to help her
remember?
out.
You remember all those times, Mr. Stewart?
Yes, ma'am.
You got a pretty good memory.
Well, it's just, $400, that's not that many payments of $50.
Is it cash or checks?
It was cash.
Are you speaking to him?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, I just have a hard time seeing how, a $400 trip to Disneyland has accumulated to $5,000.
It hasn't.
Okay.
Only in her mind. Only in the fantasy of her own mind.
Okay.
All right. We talk about furniture. You're talking about pots, pans, teacups. What about that?
Your Honor, most of this stuff, she was staying with relatives at the time as well. And she asked me to hold on to it at her place because she had it in storage. I had it in my place. As soon as we broke up, I helped loaded up in her car for her, and she took it all back.
What about stuff she bought? You know,
she bought a couple of things like plates and such, and you know, we got it from like one of those dollar stores where they sell plates, you know. And I mean, she did buy stuff for me, but I was under the impression it was a gift. You know,
did you ever tell her that you're going to pay her back for it?
No, ma'am. There was no meeting of the minds.
I don't believe that you did either.
Ma'am, I have a witness also.
I'll hear you witness.
Okay, thank you.
Tell me your name.
Heather Walker.
All right, Miss Walker, tell me what you know.
I witnessed a conversation at my home between Mr. Stewart and Kimberly, where he very clearly stated that he knew he owed her a large amount of money. He was going to pay her.
Well, tell me about when that happened and under what circumstances.
It would have been about a week after my birthday of that year because Kimberly and I weren't able to be together.
When's your birthday?
July 11th.
Okay, so in July, you witnessed a conversation. And tell me what you best recall of the conversation.
That they'd visited for about a half an hour. They were going to leave and go to a restaurant. Mr. Stewart said that he did not have cash on him and would Kimberly mind paying for this, whatever they had eaten, and he promised to pay her back.
Now, what did he say? He said, I'll pay you back.
He said, I will pay you back.
I'll pay you back?
Yeah. I'll give you your money back. She made sort of a sarcastic remark about, like the other money that you paid me back.
Right.
That's about the end of the conversation, but except for he got a little bit defensive because I asked him why he hadn't been paying. He said, you know what, I don't want to fight about this. Kimberly's already been giving me some guff about it, and I will pay her back.
And did they go out for dinner?
Yes.
And I assume you paid? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't recall that conversation at all.
I don't recall you paying me $400.
Listen to me. Don't speak to him. Okay. If you wanted to speak to him, you shouldn't come here.
Can I submit a few things to you?
I'm not interested in the few things that you want to submit to me, madam. Let me explain something to you. You had a romance that ended 2 years ago.
Yes.
Put a period and move on.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today.
Do you see your daughter, Teresa?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Well, she lived on bad terms, and until she gets her act together, Your Honor, I don't want her in my house because she's a danger.
How's she behaving in your house?
She's a handful.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Orell says ex-boyfriend Robert Stewart owes for an IKEA shopping spree and for his share of a trip to Disneyland. Robert says Disneyland was a Valentine's gift.
I believe that if the two of you took a stupid vacation together when neither one of you could afford to go on a vacation, the two of you ought to pay for it. I do not believe, Mr. Stewart, and even if I tended to believe that you gave her more money than you said, you had no proof that you gave her more money than you said you gave her because, according to you, she said to you, let's go on this wonderful trip together. You don't go on a trip if you can't afford it. So you have to pay for half the trip, $480. And I give you credit, sir, for the $80 that she says that you paid her back, which means that you owe her $400. Then we get to the quote-unquote furniture. I get the sense that you wanted to help furnish this little apartment for him so that he would be comfortable. Certainly, even if I believe you, and based upon what I've just calculated, I did, he owed you, according to you, $960. So he makes a $20 payment on $960, and you don't look like an unintelligent young lady. He had promised, according to you, to pay you the whole thing back in a year. Well, if he makes $20 payments a month, that's going to take him a lot longer than a year to pay off $960. Well, then you're still going out for dinner with him, and according to your witness, still paying the bill. All not very smart. When your head is ruled by your heart, sometimes you do foolish things. And all I can suggest to you, Miss Orell, is that you put a period and move on. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. That's all.
Why does that excuse when they step out?
I think it's pretty bad that, you know, you have to go to court to solve some problems that can be solved at home.
Let this be a lesson to people. Don't ever lend to anyone money. They'll twist it and turn it. And it's just going to be a bad situation either way.
There was no money owed, so there's no payments to be made.
Don't lend money to your firstborn. It doesn't matter who it is. Don't.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम भाईजान, क्या हाल है? ठीक हो? तबीयत से ठीक है? खुश हो? मज़े हैं? क्या हो रहा है भाई जान? कोई गपशप नहीं लगा रहा आजकल, क्या वजह? सारे मुझे लगता है बिजी हो। ये हमारे दोस्त भी बिजी है अपने अपने काम में, चेक करो। ये हमारे दोस्त के 2 सब्सक्राइबर रात को आ गए, 2 सब्सक्राइबर। हो क्या बात है, इतने सब्सक्राइबर। क्या करोगे यार इन सब्सक्राइबरों का?
भाई इन सब्सक्राइबरों से मैं और भी सब्सक्राइबर बनाऊंगा और इन सबको कहूँगा कि सब उम्रे पे जाएं मेरी खुशी में कि मुझे 2 सब्सक्राइबर मिल गए हैं।
अच्छा।
मेरे लिए दुआ करें और मुझे और सब्सक्राइबर भी दें भाई,
यानी कि मज़ीद तरक्की हो।
जी बिल्कुल, और भाइयों की दुआ का ज़रूरत है मुझे,
और किसी चीज़ की ज़रूरत नहीं है।
नहीं, भाइयों की साथ की ज़रूरत है।
राजू, आपको कितने सब्सक्राइबर रात मिले हैं?
100 लड़ा मिला, 100
ये भाई ने वीडियो रात पोस्ट किया है यार यूट्यूब वालों ने, तो इसको घर भगा दिया है। इसको कहते हैं कि आपकी वीडियो जो है ना बहुत हैवी है, तो हमारे पीसी में सिस्टम में जगह नहीं है, तो आप रेस्ट करो घर बैठ के। तो यार कोई हल बताओ इसका, हम क्या करें? ये तो बेचारा परेशान है, तो इसका कोई हल बता दो यार यूट्यूब का। राजू पूछ के नाल
दसो यार हाल विच प्रोग्राम थी आप यार
देखती आप सही दसा बस बहु नहीं
4-5 मिनट की वीडियो बनानी है।
अच्छा
जी हाँ।
अच्छा भाईजान असा थी गए विले ए पे रखे ने असा मोबाइल, ठीक है, ते कोई चाह शाह का बंदोबस्त कर गिनू असा। राजू भाई को चाह भी पी गिनो, जमील भाई गिनो जड़ा है ना कोई केक शेक खा गिनो, क्योंकि जमील भाई रात फ्रेश थी दे बैठे
सामने
हाँ बंदा खुद भी अंदाजा ला गिंदे
गान रात धाते आया सुख धाते आया
सारी दा लाइट कहना ही
वाली खुद दी लाइट गई हुई
खंबे पटीर के बैन खंबे अगले ने खंबे पाट छोड़े ना के तारे ना साको कावड़े लाइट कहना देसो
जेडी तारे पासे फोत की थी उंदा दिखाओ ना रात कल जेडी फोत की थी देखो
हां वे बिया भजन ठीक हो तो ऐसे ठीक है इवें विले बैठे आज मैं के यार नाल गपशप ला गिनो बिया सा को कोई काम क्या नहीं विले हैं बस इो काम मेरे को ताको दिखाऊंगा सारा काम ए लैपटॉप लगा पे राजू भाई को एडू से अपने प्रोजेक्ट बिजी है भी वर्क करें पे आजकल बहुत परेशान है यार असा
इंस्टाग्राम
क्यों तो कोई हल दसाओ साको
क्यों बनेदा पे
ए भैया ने इंस्टाग्राम दे आईडिया
है वो जीमेल ते बनना ते बन गई है बना ले होना ना एक बन गई है
ए इंस्टाग्राम दे आईडिया बढ़दे पेन लाला इंस्टाग्राम बहुत है राजू बहुत है
1 मिनट दी भाई बना 4 मिनट दी बना
बढ़ गई लाला इंस्टाग्राम दी आईडी
जी बन गई है
क्या देख सो
बस कोई काम नहीं शायद
अच्छा
जेड़े विरामा को दिखा सकूं कोई चीज़ां
अच्छा
वो सब चीज़ां देख सकूं
इंस्टाग्राम दे काम दी शायद आंदी है
बिल्कुल ये बेहतर राजू भाई दसा सकते हैं
मैं कहना है पता अगर तो आपको पता है इंस्टाग्राम दे क्या को जाने मेरे को दसो यार
ये ज़रूरी नहीं होता कि सिर्फ वीडियो तो साओ करो लेकिन कोई काम दिया वीडियो भी होने बोलने आप उन्हें मेहनत करनी पौंदी है थोड़ी जी
अच्छा।
ये बेहतर राजू भाई दसा सकते हैं
अच्छा।
राजू भाई यही चीज़ को ज़्यादा फोकस करें इंस्टाग्राम को वो भी रात को घर बन के
अच्छा चलो असा ही वाल वीडियो बड़े सो इंस्टाग्राम दे देखते हैं कि क्या है क्या नहीं बाकी अल्लाह हाफिज़ दुआ में याद रखा है वसते रहो आबाद रहो खुश रहो आबाद रहो ना विसरो देना याद रहो।